Well, hello everybody. I know it's been a long time since I've been on here broadcasting anything, but I'm Great Paladin. Happy New Year, Merry 2023.
Yes.
Okay, right to the point. Yes.
Yeah, Happy New Year, everybody. And yeah, let's make this a good one for once.
Let's have a toast, a cheers to
yeah. I haven't had this before. Oh yeah, the whole toasty part.
Yeah.
Darth, come by.
Oh, good.
I
I was actually sick this last couple days. I went to Greece and then for 5 days Athens, and when I got back, I caught a bug or something, so I was kind of out of commission for a couple of days. So I hadn't drank anything or done much, and then today's the first day. I almost feel like I'm 100% normal, so it's nice to enjoy a beer and relax.
Well, last week I joined the COVID club.
Oh,
and
welcome.
I had the flu, and so yeah, that was great. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, not bad.
Very, very interesting illness to have, but my parents have it. They're getting over it.
I would agree. I had it last summer, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I mean, I was vaccinated with a booster,
Yeah.
but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, which was
flu
nice.
Much worse, actually.
But I remember my body feeling really weak and not being as. And when you're walking around the house, you don't notice it until I went out or went up and down the stairs. I thought, man, I just don't have the strength or the energy to do any of this. to do it.
Yeah. But we both got over it, and other than the fact that I have a persistent cough, mostly from the flu, I think, which will probably hit me.
That could be COVID too, because I had a really bad cough for a couple of months after, and I think it damaged my voice for a little while because I wasn't sounding the same or feeling great. Yeah,
must have been really difficult considering, like, you know what you do for a living, to have issues.
Yeah.
Generating, whatever they, get strength from blowing into an instrument would be really difficult, I would imagine.
Yeah. So, gosh, it's been so long since I've done anything saber related. I think I did one short, but that was a video that I had already recorded like last year, and I thought I need to do something, but I don't have the time or the energy to actually record a video. So I drummed up the Count Dooku saber with the cats and released that out, and I got almost 2,000 views and got some likes and a couple of comments. But Scott, you're very well aware of what I have coming, and I did put this up on my community post, but I I ordered a TXQ Saber crossguard, which Scott had actually sent me the link to and said, hey, this might be your cup of tea. And I thought, oh, that is my cup of tea. And I looked at the price. I thought, I have not ordered a saber in 7 months. The Bad Axe was my last one. I thought, okay, maybe it's time, just post-Christmas. This is a little gift to myself, and maybe this would kind of get me back into doing some content. And I still got some reviews to knock out, including my Bad Axe, which I haven't done yet. And I have a lot of projects that I need to finish installing, which I want to do. But I think the big unboxing that I'm going to have coming up soon here is this crossguard saber. And thank you, Darth Paradigm, for since I live in Belgium, but I have a PO box, a US PO box out here on my base. Well, unfortunately, Saberforge no longer ships to military bases, which I was really disappointed because there was a couple sabers, including the Ecos, that I was actually going to order.
I mean, they give discounts to military personnel, but they're not willing to send them to you. So it's kind of like, yeah, okay, right.
But they used to, with no problem. So I'm a little confused by that. So I really wanted this TXQ Saber, but they weren't going to ship to my base, and unfortunately, if I came into the EU, I had to pay a value-added tax plus the import fees, and it was going to cost me not a practical amount of money to do. And Darth Paradigm was so gracious enough to say, "Hey, ship it to my house, and I will forward it on to you." Scott already did that for me. Thank you very much, and that should hopefully be arriving maybe next week. We shall see.
Yeah, we do have a tracking number. I haven't checked it yet, but now that I'm familiar with the procedure, which it is a procedure. If in the future this is, we can do this again as many times as need be.
If I do some research, I may be able to do one of those reverse pickup things where I go into my account, do the label, and pay for it, then send it to you, and then you just drop it off essentially.
Yeah, I was wondering if there was a way to to do that, because that would definitely be more convenient for you rather than having to hold my hand through the process of trying to fill out the ticket. Well, while I'm at work, and which I figured it out in the end. And then when I got to the post office, and what I had for a customs form wasn't going through their system, so I had to redo the customs form. Then I used the information that how to reference it as a Star Wars LED prop.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman looked at me cross-eyed, and I was just like, just call it that, please. And because I mean, like you said, you can't call anything anymore. It's like you can't use the word blaster or lightsaber.
You can't say blade.
Yeah, because everyone's so paranoid. We live in this paranoid world, and so that's why I took your cues, and and they were really, really helpful. I got busy in there too.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that going forward, if there's other sabers that I want to find, then and I'm definitely not going to abuse this this very kind thing you're doing for me. But I have something in the works. I already ordered it, and hopefully it should be to your door in a few days. But I got you a little something that you can read. But you probably already have an idea. I hope you'll enjoy it, and it's just my little way of saying thank you. And
I'm just hoping that you dig the TXQ soundboard. You got that with NeoPixel?
No, I went RGB.
RGB
to bring down the cost. Yeah.
I just recently bought an RGB. It's not an Anakin. Although I do have a TXQ Anakin with a Golden Harvest installed in it. It's wonderful. It's such a killer hilt, and but it's sort of like I don't know what you call it, kind of like a scrap flex or something like that. And it has the standard TXQ board in it, which isn't very loud, but it's a really nice saber. It's really well built and constructed, and they do really good work. I mean, they're right up there with LGT as far as I'm concerned. And I got this hilt for something like $70, and I haven't reviewed it yet because it's I've been lazy. But
you're not, dude. Talk about lazy. I've been beyond lazy. I have so many sabers here that I still need to review. Oh gosh, I need to get caught up, and I plan on making 2023. I need to make a comeback because it's been, I think, roughly 7 months since I've had any real content out. But
I'm looking forward to getting my hands onto that Kanan Jarrus saber that you're going to install for me, and I'm kind of holding off on any kind of major expenditures just so I can be able to finance that when the time comes, and we'll figure out what's to do with that. But I mean, other than that,
Happy New Year, Brady. It's been a long time since I've seen you on the channel. Welcome back. It's good to see you. So for those that just heard Scott's kind of saving the cash and the funds and things to gear up for this saber right here, this Kanan Jarrus saber. It's not his standard hilt, but if you watched Star Wars Rebels, there was an episode where he kind of had a vision or of some sort, and he was fighting the Grand Inquisitor, who came to him in the form of a temple guard. And so he had an offhand saber, and the offhand saber was this hilt right here.
Yeah.
And so I had decided, I'd ordered this from Atom Sabers, and I'm going to install it, hopefully with, I think it's a Profi board that I have over here. Yes, I have a Profi board to go on this. I already have all the parts, including a nice chassis that's custom fit and designed for it. I already got the recharge port there and a speaker in. So I'm going to install this, and Scott has already stressed interest in getting this saber because he's a big Kanan Jarrus fan. So I'm knowing that once I begin really doing the work, I want to make sure I do this as perfecto as I can, because I want you to have this and enjoy it and put it next to your, hopefully your, what's the one in the not original? Your Spectre. Thank you. Thank you.
It's funny with the Sabermox Spectre. After I bought that saber, and that thing took like about, I would say, 9 months to a year to build, because that was right at the height of COVID, and they were dealing with shutdowns and everything. Somehow that company managed to produce. And then, like right after I got that hilt, LGT came out with one, and another company came out with one, and another company, Ultimate Works came out with theirs. And it's just sort of like, and I've seen these come and go, and I keep looking at my Spectre and going, yeah, I'm sticking with my Spectre. That's
Yours is nice, and you have blinkies on that saber. Do you have that nearby or at hand that you could show us?
Huh?
Do you have that nearby? Yeah. Go ahead and grab that. So normally I do a end of the year wrap up kind of holiday video, and I didn't do that this year or in 2022, so I'm really sorry about that. But for those that are watching, it's 2023. Happy New Year, and I'm really hoping to kickstart the channel again with this live stream. I just wanted to stream and do something before I have to go back to work for the new year. But yeah. Okay, so Scott's back with his Spectre. Saber Mach, that's right.
This is kind of what, this is really one of my unicorns, and they really did a fantastic job on it. I mean, the funny thing was the sound fonts that they had on here were a little bit sus, but Sabermach, they don't really, their installs are great, but they're when it comes to actually programming the saber, it's not their forte. I have
it's a CFX in there, right?
It's a CFX. I have a Vader. The Vader has a Profi, and the install was amateur hours. I mean the install of the software was amateur hour. I ended up sending it to someone, and he sorted it all out, and then now it's just amazing. I have yet to review that because I'm freaking lazy. But yeah, this thing's got the. I'm about to let everyone in on the secret. Got the blinkies.
I like the blinkies. Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know. My love for this thing.
Question: does the body separate from the hilt, or is that not?
Yeah, there's wires all over the place. Okay. Going from the
perfectly fine. I mean, yeah, I don't think it's necessary. Although the Ultra Sabers version does the separation, though, right?
Maybe I haven't really ever tried it because, like, I've had bad experiences doing that with sabers and ruining wires. That's what happened to the Dooku, which I still have to send back to you to.
Yes, I very much want to repair that and actually use a thicker gauge wire. Yeah, because
The only thing I don't know if it'll work is the fact that like what I wanted to do with that hilt was you had used these timing shims that were too large to kind of like time out like where the hilt lined up with the rest of the hilt, and the timing shims were so big that I just couldn't get it to work. So what I did was I actually removed all the timing shims and I just used like literally like one or two dabs of Loctite. Just I wanted to just lock that in place.
oh, so it's probably not.
Thing it all comes apart, but like where that bend is, that's now like I don't know if you can get in there enough to do the wires. I mean, this comes off, that comes off, but then there's the bend. So whatever, if not, it's it's not the end of the world as far as I'm concerned. It's just sort of like when it comes to like with every time I've had a saber with like really really thin gauge wires, something will happen that'll encourage me to like get in there, and I always end up screwing it up, and I am an idiot. But not like I don't think I've ruined as many sabers as Stony Magnum. But yeah, so that's the thing that like we'll end up sorting out one of these days.
Yeah,
It's
really unfortunate because Count Dooku, honestly, even though the Mark I is a bigger, thicker version of what it should be, it's still a very nice and exquisite saber, and as far as size, it's not accurate, but as far as the detail, it definitely is. And I enjoyed that saber very much.
To be perfectly honest, I kind of thinking I really want to get my hands on some variation of his Jedi version of his saber from
yeah,
Rebels.
yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm all about that, even if it's just an LGT. I think I'm gonna go. I think that's
speaking of LGT. They're also, I don't know if you saw, but Dark Wolf is talking about releasing an LGT version of Count Dooku, and it looks pretty good actually.
That's what I saw that, and like everyone's coming out with one, and I'm just like, yeah, more Dooku, more happy.
Let's I want to pull that up. I want to see that, so I'm gonna type in Dark Wolf sabers.
I just want to say hi to everyone in the chat. I'm sorry if I'm a I'm a bad guy when it comes to acknowledging these things. But hope everyone's doing well.
So I remember seeing in one of the emails that Dark Wolf had something. They're talking about upcoming things. You probably saw the Dark Wolf email. Hopefully you did.
I get all the emails, but he comes out with so much. They come out with so much stuff. And it's just like,
there's a lot. Yeah.
And I just, if I had all the money in the world, you think? I mean, I have a lot of sabers now. I'd have to buy like a mansion or something like that,
And I like Dark Wolf. I mean, they have a lot of stuff, but the prices are, I think, getting a bit steep for my taste. But
I mean, overall, the prices of a lot of sabers are just kind of, it really, really inhibits like how crazy you can get, and and like most people, they go into the mode of they buy a hilt, and it's the greatest thing ever, and then they have to sell it in order to buy this next hilt, and so on and so forth. It gets to a point where I just start feeling like there's no point to it. If I wanted to get like something and I had to sell my Spectre to get that something, it would be pointless to me, because the Spectre is a rare. I mean, I could definitely get my money back for it, but at the same time, it's just like, that's mine. And every saber that I have has some kind of like value to me in some regard, and but yeah, the plan this coming year is to thin the herd, because I have too much. But
I'm afraid I may have deleted that email from Dark Wolf that had the. Oh no, I just found it. Okay. Scrolling. Right here. Okay. It says, I'm going to read this. We have many new lightsabers currently up at darkwolfsabers.com. So come on over and visit. See which saber calls out to you with the Force. In 2023, we will be introducing many new exclusive only to Dark Wolf customers models. We will also be releasing the anticipated Arrogance Dooku-inspired saber. See image below. And the image is right. I hope I can, right there, which I think is pretty good. That's pretty good. So I'm very much excited and looking forward to that. Will I get it? Probably not, because I have a really good screen accurate version of it. But I'm really curious to see how much they're going to charge for that. My guess is probably going to start at $300, because look at the Palpatine saber and some of the other ones. But I think it's cool that they're offering one, and it sounds like it's only going to be offered from Dark Wolf, because it said Dark Wolf exclusive.
Yeah. But while we're on the subject of Dooku, did you ever get the Tales bundle by I think it was Kyberphonic that did the Tales bundle?
I did not, but I'm going to, because I like that. Let's talk about Kyberphonic real quick, because his sound font packs that he's been releasing lately have all been like really good. I mean, tens. I just haven't
value. He's been giving value. Like
yeah.
So the Tales bundle had something like 6 sound fonts in it. You get a Yaddle sound font in there.
Yaddle. And they all sound good. I like them all. They're all really good.
Great. And the man's been producing lately. It's been it's nice because with the economy the way it is, if you get, like, I paid $20 and I got Dooku, I got the Qui-Gon sound font in there is arguably better in my opinion than his regular Qui-Gon sound font. I actually prefer the Qui-Gon sound font from the Tales package. And the Dooku sound font's great. I mean, he literally has like a million different, like, he has all the dialogue. It's all captured. You can go in there and you can customize everything. You can. It's just like the bang that you get for the buck from Kyberphonic sound fonts now. I mean, other sound font makers who I love and cherish their work, they don't really give you quite the bang for the buck. The price for a single sound font, you just get one version. With Kyberphonic, you get all the main platforms. You get like Asteria, Golden Harvest, CFX, Profi, Verso. You get everything, all the different versions. You don't have to sit there like converting shit.
Well, fortunately, I think we're seeing less and less of that now from sound font makers, which I think is great. That you're not having to go through and have to change files yourself.
So
and I also like the fact that Kyberphonic now is putting in, like, if you watch his demos, in the description he says the timings of the in and the out of the blade. So if you want to, because a lot of times he's been getting comments about, what's this blade style you're using and things like that. And so he's putting in the timing so you can just do that yourself, which I really appreciate. And some guys are even adding their blade styles with some of the packages too, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, there's a channel, Knit the Grit, where he's like all about the Profi, and he goes in there and like just programs all these like blade profiles to go with the sound fonts and everything. It's just all that work. I'm more of the like, here's my saber. Can you put a bunch of stuff on there and make it look cool?
Yeah.
Money. I'm not a cook. But
And I want to also talking about the packs. I think I like this concept of doing sound font packages where you have more than one sound font. Some you might get 6, some you might get 3, 2. It doesn't matter. But I like the idea, like you said, you get more bang for your buck. Yeah, lightsaber just turned on automatically back here. That's funny because the battery's dying. Yeah, this one here. But
what's that one?
This is the Stunt Sabers Guardian. Still haven't done a review on this one, and I need to do a review.
I was wondering if you still had that thing because
a review is coming for this one.
Yeah,
and it has a USB-C, so I'm going to go ahead and charge this now. But I really love this concept of having multiple fonts in the same package. So more bang for your buck, one price, you get multiple fonts, especially if maybe you only have the one saber, but you don't want to spend a lot of money or search around for a lot of stuff, but you like one genre, so you can just get, here's the classic trilogy pack, or here's the Visions pack, or whatever. I like that idea.
Plus, when you consider that Disney's going to be releasing series and some of the upcoming series, like the Ahsoka series, whenever that comes out, is invariably going to have at least Ahsoka, possibly an Ezra. Mm-hmm. Who knows who else might show up? And at some point they're gonna throw us a curveball, and they're gonna have a series where they'll have characters that no one is expected to see. And then it's just if you have one of those series and you just put out a package deal, you make your money, mm-hmm. and everyone's happy, and everything's covered without having to nickel and dime us to death, and it's a good concept. It kind of matches where the industry is as far as how shows are being produced and whatnot.
Yeah. Let's address Isaac's question here. Are you both still in love with your bad axe sabers?
I smashed mine with a hammer.
That's kind of a stupid question because the answer to that is most definitely yes.
Mine's permanently set to that Dooku sound font from the Tales bundle.
As you see, my Jedi powers are far beyond yours.
Well, naturally.
So mine is on Dooku too, but it's not from Tales. But I do need to buy that package. But yeah, I absolutely love my bad axe. Still need to do a review on this, and I think I'm gonna try to knock that out this week coming up. But yeah, I love this saber. It's so simple, but it satisfies so many things, and it feels so good in the hand. It's the most comfortable and practical curved hilt that I have, and that's Dooku and Vanquish, and yeah, I like this very much.
And the funny thing about the bad axe is if you were to put a claw on the front of it, it would suffice as a substitute for Dooku's Jedi lightsaber. Not that you'd besmirch your hilt, but
But if you watched Tales, his saber almost looked about the same.
Yeah, it does. It just,
I
think it just has I mean, the thing is we need a side-by-side comparison, like an art comparison, because I honestly don't know,
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is I think Dooku has always been, as a character, true to himself, mm-hmm. regardless of whether he's light side or dark side. I don't think his hilt, other than his blade color, would change too much. And yeah, so I don't know. I don't know what changes they made, for that series, but
let's talk about Tales.
That was such a treat.
I wasn't a huge fan of the first episode with the Ahsoka baby stuff or whatever.
See, I
But-
like that. I'm a sucker.
But all the other episodes I enjoyed very much, especially the Dooku episodes because I like Dooku. But it's really kind of nice to see, not necessarily his transformation, but you can definitely him politically, how he felt about everything and how he wanted to do something, but it wasn't really there. And you can see how he was kind of losing faith in the order a bit. But at the same time, you really felt the conflict.
It was relatable.
Yeah, and
He was
especially when he fought Yaddle. That moved me. I thought that was a
very
very emotional moment when he fought Yaddle.
But for the most part, like it made Dooku a much more sympathetic character because by the Clone Wars he had transformed and he was already thoroughly entrenched in the dark side. Still, he was the dude. He was the man. I mean, he's one of my favorite. I guess Sith characters of all time. I really love Dooku, and his ignominious demise still haunts me to this day. But seeing them flesh out that character, and and getting to see how he reacted to Qui-Gon's death, without having to get too much into showing Qui-Gon, just him contemplating at that tree of life or whatever, and talking to Yaddle about his feelings and the whole thing, and how he came to terms with that. It really put it legitimized the character of Dooku beyond just the movie, the Clone Wars, and the Clone Wars animated series. It kind of gave him. I really appreciated a lot of what they did in that series for various characters, what they did with Ahsoka having the training with Anakin against the clone trooper, and then tying that into the end of Clone Wars Series 7, where she has to go and fight all of those clone troopers, and she's trying not to kill any of them, and just sheer heartbreak and pain of that.
Yeah. But it also showcased why she had an innate ability to survive, and that's thanks to the training of Anakin. And yeah, sure, it was some tough love, but what he did for her allowed her to save her own life.
Anakin is one tenacious character. He just was not going to give her anything short of everything that she needed to survive any situation, and that's what makes him terrifying as Vader. Just knowing how just driven he was as a character. I mean, it really adds even more to what we already know about the character.
And I especially liked the dynamic between Windu and Dooku, which also I think helped feed the narrative as to why Windu in Episode 2 didn't really want to push or consider Dooku being this person capable of, assassinating Amidala.
Mace Windu is a complex character, far more complex than I think any of us give him credit for. Mm-hmm. He's shrewd. He's a Jedi's Jedi, but at the same time, his slight connection to the dark side of the Force and willingness to use some dark side capability, therefore, ergo, his blade color, which denotes that he kind of walks a fine line there.
I kind of wish
time for a Mace Windu series.
Yeah, I really wish that we saw a duel between Dooku and Windu. I think that would have been. I think that would have been better than watching him and Yoda. Because honestly, the old Yoda, I wasn't impressed by that.
Yoda fight was stupid.
Yeah, but I think it would have been really cool if they put Dooku against Windu. That would have been interesting. And then when you get the tails, you can see how difficult that would have been for those two to fight. More so for Windu, because that was his. They were they're partners essentially. They're buddies. Working together in the order until he left.
Yeah. And I love the part where Qui-Gon says to Dooku that Obi-Wan he acquits himself well as a Jedi, and then I kind of immediately flash back to that scene on what the hell is the name of the planet where the big fight happened, where Obi-Wan's just hanging there in his little energy field, and Dooku's just like shining him on the whole time. I love that scene. That's one of the better scenes in Clone Wars, where it's like, oh no, I can't believe what they did to you, my friend. This is just wrong, Yeah, but I can't really do anything to get you released. Sorry. I just want to say, hey, Shannon.
Oh,
Right?
on, off. Yeah, what's up, my guy?
This Voodoo Ranger is good. This is really good.
What's your ABV on that one?
9.5.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. It's a nice, powerful, hazy. I haven't talked to Shannon in forever.
Yeah, me either. And he's been putting out a little bit of content here recently, more so than me. But Shannon has hit 1,000 subscribers, and I know that was a long time coming. So I'm glad that he hit that milestone. So congratulations, Shannon. You definitely deserve it. There was one video he did where he reviewed something. I don't think it was the cleric. But it was good. I liked his take. I watched it from. It's not often that I watch a video from start to finish with my full attention, but that one I was watching the full thing, and I liked that review. And to a point where and the saber looked so good, I was like, man, I kind of want one for myself,
Yeah. I really like what Saberforge is doing, along those lines, putting the cores, the LGT cores in there, and making these sabers more economical and accessible to people. As you know, I'm all about the Epoch Mark III. Because the thing is it has kind of a bit of I like a good Imperial lightsaber, and to me that smacks of it's got like an Imperial Knight kind of look to it. And as far as upgrades go to the Epoch series, it's funny because I've kind of seen videos going through the ages, and I think the Epoch actually started out looking more like the Mark III looks now, and then evolved into different versions, and then it's like re-evolved into something truer to its original form. And I'm just waiting for like the financial opportunity to like buy that. But yeah, exactly. What usually happens is I will finally have the money to buy it, and it won't be available. And when it's available again, then I won't have the money. But I think that's a gorgeous hilt.
Yeah.
It's one of the few. Other than if they had decided to go with the Venom, because I have a Warrior tier Venom. If they had decided to go this route with the Venom, I probably would have bought one already, because I'm a big fan.
The only concern I have about this saber is the choke point. Is because you can kind of see that it's got a bit of an edge there. So I'm a little concerned about if that would kind of scratch up the hands a bit. But other than that,
go ahead.
Other than that, as far as design goes, it is a really nice design, and that kind of silver shroud that looks like a triangle or trapezoid there. Above the vents down to the. I just think all that looks really good.
Now, that design that you're seeing with the Mark III is very much like the Archon.
Yeah,
Identical. And I have an Archon. I've never injured myself on my Archon. And I
really, I thought you cut yourself really good on that one once, and that was what really
think I
made me
did
believe.
once, but I have never had a problem with it ever since. I just, for some reason, that saber, I absolutely, I consider that the best, probably like the best mystery box acquisition that I ever had from Saber Forged with my my Prodigy, Prodigy being the second one, and I'm sorry to say, but I really love my my Redeemer now that I have a decent soundboard in there, and it's kind of funny because what the hell, I have a hilt that has that legacy veteran soundboard in it. I can't remember which one it is.
Yeah, screw that board.
Actually, the saber that I have that board in, for some reason, my brain is just completely shutting down. It's actually in that particular saber. It's not bad at all. It sucked balls in the Redeemer. But, I mean, the Redeemer with the first harvest and the new blade, the new threaded blade. That threaded blade is the shit. It is very well made. I would never duel with it. I would never do anything. But as far as like just swinging it around or whatever, it's not bad for what it is. I mean, considering like the journey that I went through with that saber, I've learned to appreciate it. I like it simply because I consider it a decent Kenobi replica.
Yeah, as far as look goes, yeah, but I'm just not a fan of that saber. I'm glad that I got my hands on one, but I was also very happy to sell it. So, and for me, I kind of just broke even on it and got my money back on it. So, it was a fun mystery box. It was hilarious that we both got the same thing. I was really excited about the first harvest. We didn't get it. But,
yeah, that was a lot of fun.
yeah. But we resolved that one pretty well. I mean, you got the first harvest in it, but
let's get veteran mystery boxes so we can see what the first harvest is all about. And then it was just like 6 months of misery after that. It was like emailing back, messaging back and forth how miserable we are.
I am willing to commit to this right now in this live stream. So everybody, if and when Saber Forge releases mystery boxes again, I am very much willing to order again and let's do a live stream and unbox our mysteries again.
I'm in if they ever.
If they ever.
Because God damn Saber Forge.
They didn't do anything for Christmas this year.
Why are they like on your website if and we're thinking about maybe releasing some more like 2027, possibly. It's just like, come on, guys, get your shit together. Like they do the same thing with the scratch and dent hilts and the scratch and dent parts, and if you look at the eco sabers. Like half the eco sabers that they used to offer, are gone. They don't do the Defender anymore. It's gone.
Yeah, I will say I don't. At first, I liked what they were doing with the ecos, but now I don't, because the ones that we kind of knew and loved are gone. And then now they're doing these elite ecos, and now it's to a point where it doesn't feel eco because they're so damn expensive, and the core is not included. So the price you're seeing is just the hilt alone, which is now like $160 for some of them, and then you add the core. It's all too much now, and I don't agree with that. I liked the ecosystem we had from Gen 3, 4, and 5. After Gen 5, they started to lose me, and what they're doing now, I just think it's too much.
What we're seeing is there's been market forces, and with so many economic influences and stuff that you can't get from China anymore, and the global economy being the mess that it is, inflation, yada yada yada, everything is going into like trying to have a business. Now I want to preface this by saying I've come to recognize that Saber Forge is probably my favorite saber producing company. They always will be. I've had such a long relationship with them, and anytime I come across the Saber Forge hilt in the wild, I'm always intrigued. And every time they come out with something new, I'm like, oh, what's I just love them as a company. Some people despise them. I love them as a company, but they're a hot mess. They're a complete hot mess.
Well, they've got some weird business practices, and this is why I have a love-hate relationship with Saberforge. Sometimes they'll release something, and I'll say, yes, that's awesome, that's great. Saberforge is figuring it out, and then literally like the same week, they'll put out something that completely is stupid, makes no sense, and just ruins the stuff that just made you really love that company.
It's like they'll release a Sith saber, and then they'll be like, "It's like we got this Sith saber that everybody's been waiting for like 17 years, but you can't get it in red. You can't get a red blade."
And I liked these Eco Sabers. This is the Defender you were just talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Great saber. I love it very much. I like the radiator emitter. The size is perfect. And I think I purchased this for maybe $120 with the core. And when they switched to, they redesigned this and did it so that the choke was a little bit wider and it could take any LGT core. Because before the way the buttons were spaced out, you couldn't do it. But I like this saber very much. And now they kind of got rid of this size and what they're doing here. And they got these elite ecos. And I think it's, where do you draw the line of the difference between these new ecos and their apprentice line? Because to me, they kind of are about the same. And you look at their eco version, you look at the elite version, and there's not a big difference between the two. So I don't understand why they're going this route.
This saber, for what it is, its simplicity, this thing is exquisite. And
the weathering on that is solid for being machined.
Yeah. And it has, none of this is sharp, and it just was so well done. Yeah. And then, once you get like a decent core in here, like we got, I think we both have version 3s.
Yeah, I think so.
This is a really good.
It's not the RGBX version 3 that we know right now, but it's still good.
The thing is, for the price, for this hilt, with a decent version 3 core in it, this is probably like
best value.
The best value. Yeah, this thing is solid. And if after a couple of years the electronics become outdated or crap out, as long as LGT is producing cores that still utilize this.
Exactly, because at some point they're going to release another updated version of a core that's going to be even better. But your hilt is still solid. Nothing's going to go wrong with this hilt. So swap out the core and you're done.
Plus, a lot of times you can get if you have, say you have a USB-C port opening on the hilt. This has the round one. Mm-hmm. You can get a core and you can get the one with the proper port. And then, if it has like the thing where actually the 2 holes on the bottom rather than the top, so you can avoid this garish kind of nonsense.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Just to up and discontinue a hilt. I'm sure that there probably was a.
I wouldn't even say hilt, a line, because a lot of those they're not offering anymore, which is really sad.
And you know how many versions of this thing they produced until they reached this one, which was, as far as I'm concerned, perfection. And they're like, nah,
Yeah.
This was probably like the third or fourth version, and then they finally perfected.
Yeah, I think they finally phased out the last of their stock, because for a good while they were selling some of them for like 40% off or whatnot, like really cheap. You could get the one with the Suba, whatever that one was called, the Ranger. Some of those they knocked them off like 40%, and they were going like really cheap, like 60 or 80 bucks or something like that. And they finally phased those out to make room for these new ones. But I'm not as keen on the Eco line now. In fact, let's go ahead and look at it.
The only eco that I would get if I had the extra money is the Aggressor. What they've done with the Aggressors, they've essentially turned it into a like a really nice mall hilt, and I do like that hilt. They're all nice. They're all really great.
Yeah,
I have the.
I do like that they're doing the pretty much ASP ecos. You know, this customizable Mark II sabers. I think that's a pretty cool idea. Not a lot of options, but
the only one that does
katana.
nothing for me is the katana. I don't
That's
really
a katana. So yeah, 40% off. So for $45, you can get the katana, which I think is legit. That's solid. I really do like the new Aggressor. I think the improvements they made on that are really, really nice.
It's
but when
gorgeous. I mean, I've seen it from multiple angles, and it really, what they've done with the emitter and with that wrap on it, it's exquisite. It really
but when you take that with
and you don't need a question fan.
When you take that with the core, it's too expensive now, though. And when you add the core to that eco is not very eco. But the Bastion, of course, nice. The Disciple and the Acolyte, great. Katana, I'm still considering getting. Honestly, I would have ordered one if I could get it shipped to me. The Stalwart is still one of my favorites. I installed that one for my wife. You've got the Progenitor, that's great. But when you look, when you get to the Eco line, the Eco, whatchamacallit,
the Elite.
The Elite. So they got the Archon, which honestly looks just like the real one.
Yeah.
The Clerics are great. I'm not a huge fan of the Cultist. Something about it in the emitter I just don't like. The Epoch we talked about, that's just wonderful. Malice, yeah, I will take that over the Cultist. But
I would love to get a Malice. I like the Malice. I've always wanted a Malgus type saber, and that would do fine.
But I would go with the wrapped over the standard.
Oh yeah, if you can get a wrap on a hilt, definitely go that route.
Hunter's Creed, I'm just just doesn't do it.
Never liked the Hunter's Creed. I don't know. It's never done a thing for me.
But when you look at the Eco line, there's not much there anymore. And before we had like a huge selection, like the Ranger, Defender. Now we have the Commando before, that's gone. The Eco Fallen, that's gone. I mean, there's a lot of great Eco sabers that just aren't with us anymore, and I'm really disappointed and sad about that.
I had one of those. I had one of my commenters trying to buy my Commando off of me.
I sold my Commando actually.
Yeah, I know. Well, someone came to me and it's like, "Hey, sell me your Commando," and I'm like, "No."
Was it Darth Dervish? Because he messaged me a few times trying to get my Commando. I just said, no, I'm not selling anything.
I love show the pommel on this thing. I love the pommel on that.
You know, that pommel remind me a little bit of what's on Luminara's saber and Plo Koon.
Yeah, you're right. It is.
But I like what they did with the emitter, making that bigger on the end there.
Very, very pretty hilt. You know, like I still want to get the Epoch Mark III, but I think if one of those, if I find myself financially able to, what do we have there?
This is the Mark III.
That's the one I have.
Aggressor. But the new one they got now is so much nicer because they narrowed this out and made it.
Yeah.
They expanded it, which I think is really great. This is a blade plug that's sticking out the top.
Is that Saskia's hilt?
No, she had a Stalwart that I reinstalled for her. Yep.
I forgot that you had one of those too. I have one. I don't even remember.
I'm going to reinstall this though with an Nano Biscotti V4.
No fair.
Fair.
I don't know how I feel about the Nano Biscotti.
I know you do. I know you do. Honestly, I plan on selling it, but once I install it and start swinging around, who knows? I might end up.
No, I think you should keep that shit. The Nano Biscotti V4. Damn. Okay.
Dark Fork Dynasty Saber. I'm not sure about this one.
Dynasty Saber? Is that the is that JR Saber?
I'm gonna look for it now.
No one got.
I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen again, and we're gonna see about this. So, Dynasty.
They actually have an Imperial Knight type saber, like the Knight. That's
the Knight. I like the Knight. I think this is pretty cool.
I am such a sucker for an Imperial Knight style saber that
Well, if you look at the emitter here, it's similar to the Epoch. If you flipped it over.
The thing is like I actually have the patch stores. I forget what they call it, but it's their Imperial Knight. It's I can't remember what they called it, and I really like the soundboard on the one that I have, so that's why I haven't bought another. Is because I'm quite happy with
There's the Knight.
With what I have, you know.
I really want that Wanderer. I really want this Malico Saber badge.
I want my Terran Malico Saber. I'm waiting for Ravenz Sabers to finally send the thing to me. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not seeing this Dynasty he's talking about.
Isaac, where is this Dynasty of which you speak?
Of which you speak.
There's so many nice hills. Isn't it ridiculous?
Yeah, I do like that. There it is. I do like that Inquisitor.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay. Now that as long as we're on katana style sabers, if you go to Etsy and you look up Aegis sabers, your old nemesis there. If we can do that, if we can find them, they have a katana style saber that I've been considering getting. And there it is, right here.
Right here.
There you go.
The Nichiren?
Check that thing out. So click on that and then check out the different variants that are available. The color variants. I was considering getting gray on gray. The black version is great. All the color variations are kind of
okay. This is interesting. This is similar to the Kaizen sabers, I think.
Yes, exactly. Check out that gold on gray.
Now that I like. That is nice.
Look at the gray on gray.
Yeah. With the Cog emitter or the Cog Suba there.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Look at the price.
$149. Well, that's in euro. Sorry,
that's euro. It's $124 over here.
But that's without the core. If you just do the RGB core,
with the core, it's like $153, free shipping. And I can vouch for I forget his name, but I can vouch for him. I've never had any issues getting my shit from him. I know you had that one incident where.
But I came close to ordering from him again because he does get some nice hilts. That are nowhere else. And I like this. I want to try this one here too. This
Samurai Edge, yep.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I like this little emitter shroud.
It's got this mechanical sort of like a Corran Horn kind of vibe.
Aegis symbol there with the D ring. Yeah, I mean this seems pretty solid, and it's actually curved.
Yeah.
And honestly, having the button on the side like that, I mean, it's great for a right-handed person. I'm left-handed, so that would be weird. But for a right-handed person, yeah, your thumb is right there to access that. Yeah,
That's a
I
nice
think
follow.
that's a great hilt, and I would order that one too in a heartbeat. But once you get to the RGB is sold out, so now when you go to basic NeoPixel, which is the next cheapest thing, now you're talking 278. And if you go empty, that's great, but it's curved. So does it fit a standard core? Which the answer would be no.
Probably not.
And I forget there was one place. I think it's on AliExpress, but you can order a curved kind of core. They had an option for that, which I thought was interesting. And this was mine was the Saber Shield Vulcan.
Yeah, that's nice for a Vulcan substitute.
Yeah.
There's just too much cool shit out there. It really is.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there.
You can get in trouble real easy, and before you know it, you're like, what did I do? I wanted to throw in a little variation of a theme on the whole Saber Forge thing. Something I kind of discovered by I was looking at videos earlier, and you remember this?
I do. You fool!
Yeah. So you know how this has a NEC soundboard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I found out because I watched enough videos that I found out that at one point Saber Forge's soundboard for their hero installs was NEC. So what we have here is this is essentially one of their hero installed sabers circa 8 years ago. Because it's identical. Like I was fiddling around with sound fonts again, trying to find something other than the 2 sound fonts that I have, other than the standard install that would work, and I can't find anything. The only thing that works in here is Malice and what the fuck, not the Emperor, but the Supreme Leader.
Oh, okay.
So and those are the only 2 sound fonts out of all the sound fonts that I own that I could get to work on here. And then I had to rewire. I had to resolder one of the connectors came off of the speaker because the speaker just kind of like wraps up a little bit and you squish it in there and you kind of like somehow that got done. So I had to do that. But yeah, I've been kind of playing with this thing today. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of NEC soundboard, but the volume's not that great.
So, Jared, that's the Sinister Prophecy Mark 1, I believe.
Yeah, it's a Mark 1, but
I had received that in a Boneyard mystery box, and the speaker basically wasn't working, and it didn't have a pommel. So I had added a new speaker and a pommel, and then I sold it to Darth Paradigm, and he has it. And I have a review up on it, and I think he did an unboxing video of it as well. And yeah, it's a great saber with an older board, but it's really nice.
I mean, once I got in there with a Dremel, and I kind of fucked it up, but I got in there with a Dremel, and I had to round off all these.
Yeah, that could really gouge you good if you were really swinging that.
It would fuck you up right proper. Trust me. This was that was a nightmare. But I don't know. I've kind of fallen in love with this hilt in the past week or so. I've been playing with it a lot.
So, Jared, to answer your first Happy New Year, you wanted to know the difference between the Saber Forge Count Mark II and Mark III. This is actually a really great question because I got a comment on my Mark II video asking, and to be honest with you, I don't know because the website itself is not specific about the differences. Now, when they released the Mark II, they actually said the differences between 2 and 1. But when they released Mark III, which they didn't even, usually when they release a new version, they kind of put that on their main page and send out an email, but they didn't do that for Mark III. But when I looked at the stats, it's pretty much the same from what I could see as the Mark II. And the Mark II, gorgeous hilt. I did an unboxing and a review of this wonderful saber. But I'm going to share my screen real quick so you can see some of the stuff about Mark III. But it didn't really specify a difference between Mark II and Mark III, which is really disappointing. Which, by the way, I like this Aegis curved hilt that they have. I would like to get one, but again, when you add the cores and everything else, electronics is way too expensive and they don't want to ship to me. So anyway, getting back to the count. The Reaper's pretty cool, but I like the Aegis more. There's a Sinister Prophecy Mark II. Scott just showed us Mark I. So when I read it, it doesn't say anything that really stands out between 2 and 3, and the price is the same as well. It's $299. But so the count Mark III measures just 1.37 inches wide, which is the same as my Mark II, with the length of the emitter for the pommel just under 11 inches. Now, I think that's about the same. I don't have my tape measure up here, but I think mine is about 11 inches too. The pommel design includes a proper choke, which Mark II does have. And what else? The red trigger activates the saber and the recharge port is hidden. Yeah, Mark II has that as well. I don't know. I think the main difference might be the fact that when you order the Mark III, you do get the 3D printed, if you get it empty, you get the 3D printed hyper low profile chassis, which I don't think the Part 2 came with. Micro tactile switch, 3D printed switch holder, which I don't think the Mark II came with. High bass speaker, yes. Battery, that's great. And the reinforced male threaded connector. So to be honest with you, Jared, I'm not 100% sure because a lot of it seems about the same as the Mark II. Yeah, like what I'm seeing here in these pictures, it looks just like my Mark II. Yeah. Yeah, my choke and the pommel looks the same. Yeah. Same deal. I'm looking at mine as I'm looking at these pictures. Oh, here we go. More narrow design into extended spine. Oh, that's Mark II to 1. Yeah, which we already knew this one. So to be honest with you, I'm not sure they even made much of a change between 2 and 3. That might be a question to ask directly to Saberforge.
Sorry, I had to have some dinner.
Yes, the Mark II does have the threaded connector. And you can see that right in there. Which I wish it didn't. I don't like it. And to be honest with you, my threaded connector actually came loose on the inside. So if I screw the blade in, once it inserts in, when I pull the blade out, it pulls the connector out a bit. So fortunately, the wires is a very thick gauge, so it's not breaking out. But I hate the fact that it's not screwed in all the way.
Which version of the blade do you have for that? Is that just the original version or the modified version? If it's a copper piece,
no, it's NeoPixel. It's not the
NeoPixel. So
it's not the RGB. So I think that it's slightly different for the NeoPixel. Because for when you do the RGB, you've got up to here is where the LED module is, but in this case, it's just this little thin part because there is no module for LED. So.
Right.
Hello, Titan. It's good to be back on the enters of web with the YouTubes. It's been a long while. And I said at the beginning of this, hoping that in 2023 here, I can really kind of get back into making some content. I was really out of sorts for the last 7 months.
I've been it's been an ongoing discussion between Grey Paladin and myself regarding the future of our channels. I've been doing my very best to try to keep him at least
mildly interested,
to not give up and to not surrender to whatever the forces were that were like working against him. Because I don't think the Saber community can afford to lose him and his content, because there's been like some really decent content out there, and I'm not talking about mine. I'm talking. It's just a lot of people are gone or have disappeared or are producing very little. I've been producing very little because of circumstances, but hopefully, I'm hoping to change that too. But I've been trying to encourage Emery to stick with it and not. I think it was just hobby burnout, and I think a lot of people have been suffering from hobby burnout, and I don't think the economy has been helping at all.
Correct.
Inflation and all the crap that's been going on. It's very demoralizing, and it's just kind of like. But I think the love is still there. The love for Star Wars and the love for the community and the love for the products. It's just when you can't afford to buy anything.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I can afford to buy is used stuff. Little something here, a little something there. Nothing anybody's really that interested in. Everybody wants to say, "Hey, did you get that new $800 And I'm like, no, because I work for a living. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. So when I got the Bad Axe, and I even said in that video that I might retire on that saber. And I haven't done any real content since then. I think I did one live stream with you, Scott, and I had a short that was already pre-recorded from a while ago. But I do feel the need that I want to do more content and come back. And you make a really good point, Shannon, that it doesn't have to be, you don't have to buy stuff. You can still just do something fun. And part of that is some of my creativity and energy had diminished because I was just so busy with work, and then my wife, she ended up going back to school, and so her being away, it's been a challenge. So I kind of lost some of my energy and self-esteem and creativity to sit down and film and do things. But new year, I've been wanting to get back for a long time, and so I really want to put something out there. And I did order a saber. It's kind of kickstarting me back into doing something. I've got some reviews to kick out, some sabers to install, and I want to try to start doing some more content. And yes, Scott has been encouraging me to stick with it, keep going, put something out there. You send me a video every now and again, and fortunately, you've still been continuing to do content, which is great. Maybe once a week or every other week you put something out there, which has been nice. So I've been wanting to, and I will. And yes, the cross guard, that saber's coming soon. Hopefully it'll be here sometime next week, and I'll be doing a video on that. So I'm really excited about that. All right, cool.
The cross guard. Is it really a cross guard, or is it more of a katana style saber? It's a little bit.
It's this saber is a little bit of everything. And if you saw if any of you that are watching saw my post with the picture of the cross guard, it looks pretty cool. It's going to have the new 2-switch setup, which I think is pretty cool. And I'm hoping that some of the things that are a bit over the top on the saber that can be removed. Like I was talking about, where the vent emitter blades are. There's like another cross stay bar underneath that, which I feel like is a bit overkill. It might be kind of unwieldy, but it looked like I saw screws in it, so you might be able to take it off. So we'll see. When it gets here, I'm looking forward to that. I've actually never held a cross guard or spun a cross guard, so this will be really interesting. Once I finish the unboxing video, Darth, Paradigm, and I both decided that we're going to do a live stream about cross guards, their effectiveness, their wieldiness, their importance, how good they are, and just have a cross guard discussion. And I like this one that you got. That's pretty cool.
So the woman that, as I was saying, she kind of had a slew of sabers that she was selling. She actually had another Templar, and the Templar that she had still available was weather finish with red LEDs and a brown wrap. Yeah, I bought that shit. So, so I'm gonna have two Templars. I'm gonna have a Jedi and a Sith Templar. But let's face it, if you're gonna have a cross guard, it's gonna be Sith, right? Am I right or am I right? Or am I right? Yeah. But this thing is quite nice. I bought myself a set of blades with Quillons from the Saber Merchant. He's my go-to. His blades are the best. And got a kill key from Saber Forged, and this I believe that I got this from Smuggler's Outpost, because I didn't really want to put just a regular Covertech wheel on this thing. And I went to buy my since I had bought a second Templar, I went to buy my pommels, only to find out that the standard pommel is no longer available. And they also they actually have the weathered pommel, but I don't know. I'm probably gonna just stick with this pommel. I'm not too much of a spinner that I'm worried about like injuring myself.
Well, according to Shannon, you should just take that pommel off and put in a coupler.
according to Shannon, everything's according to Shannon. Gotta do what Shannon says, because Shannon.
Everything? What? Yeah, make a cross guard staff. That's hilarious.
Yeah, cross guard staff.
Triple
couple
bladed lightsaber.
A cross guard staff.
And then cuts hand off within 5 seconds.
What's the coupler made out of? Like freaking
Scott, it doesn't matter, because do it.
Yeah, and then I go visit you guys in Atlanta, and then it's like I'll be like, I got my crash guard staff, and the first thing that's gonna happen is just gonna get broken by my Slayer, Saber Slayer over there.
I'm really curious about, because I've never held a cross guard or spun one, and it seems interesting.
You have
and now in theory,
these things are.
Those look a bit long to me. I feel like I would like those to be shorter. But
the thing is it came with 6-inch Quillons, and that's what I bought. And I could try 5, but this is pretty much a standard length. And
I feel like 4 would be good.
Short, they look weird. They look stubby if they're too short.
Like just this. I would rather see this length.
That's the length these are. Because
no, couldn't be.
Goes to there. The blade goes to there. So
hold on. I gotta measure that.
Do it.
Oh, don't tell me the battery's dead. Dang it, my battery's dead. Well, let's see. Maybe. Yeah, you're right. This is about 6 inches.
Yeah. This is not my forte, but whereas Shannon, I can't do double bladed for shit. That's not my skill set. This I can manage.
Yeah. See, Isaac said the same thing that it looks really long to me, and I feel like this should be shorter.
Well, you wrong. Me. Sorry, I'm a little drunk.
A little.
Getting belligerent. Don't worry, Emery. I can handle my liquor, unlike some people I know.
I hold mine just fine. What are you talking about?
Is that?
Hey, I live in Belgium and drink Belgian beer on a regular.
I remember a live stream about 10 months ago where you. Anyway,
I was fine. I'm always fine.
You're a little belligerent.
Me? Of course not. I'm a passionate person, and if you talk about something that is that I have interest or excitement about, then I'm gonna go ahead and. And I've been saving, but I've got gummy mix right here, so I'm.
Woo! Gummy mix.
But beer and gummies don't mix too well as far as pairings go. So I'm waiting till the beer is done, and then I'm gonna switch to the gummies.
It's basically like once you start, once you.
And if you've watched some of my installation videos, I eat gummies in some of those videos. It's hilarious.
Is it?
So no, the tub is not empty yet, but it's almost there. You can see that it's there's very few gummies actually left.
Somebody's been hitting the gummies hard.
Yeah, well, I was playing a little Xbox and stacking on gummies.
What
I do.
What we playing?
I was playing Star Wars Battlefront 2. There
are other games. There are other games.
There are, but not that I play. Because that's the best Star Wars game out there now.
I'm waiting for the day when you're finally stateside, when you're finally out of the when you're civilian, and I get to finally hang out with you and Saskia, and then you're gonna be like, oh no, this is just not working.
Well, I don't have to be a civilian for us to hang out. I just need to be in the States. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Or if I had the money, I'd love to.
I have a guest room. You can come out here and visit for a week or two. I mean, it's no problem.
Like, you guys have so much cool stuff to go there. I'd be like, of course, other people are like, hey, I like to go to the beach. Hey, I like this historical site. Like, I'm probably one of the few guys that's like, dude, I really, really want to go to Nuremberg. Like, I'm such a history buff, like a World War II history buff.
I've been to Nuremberg twice now, and it's amazing there. If you go to the Nazi rally grounds, it's so cool there.
My favorite thing ever is the photo when you send me all those photos when you guys were at Nuremberg, and you're sitting there on the podium where the Führer was delivering all his hate speeches, and you're standing there, and I'm like, he would shit his pants if he saw you up there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's a really cool experience being there. And I went to Waterloo too. I mean, there's so much history here.
Waterloo?
Yeah. Waterloo is only like 40 minutes from my house.
Dude, you know what's 40 minutes from my house? Nothing.
Also, Scott, at Waterloo, they brew their own beer.
I want Waterloo beer.
So after you tour the battlegrounds and the museum and stuff, go to the restaurant and get you a Waterloo beer.
All right. So the one thing that I have done is I've been to Gettysburg. I spent a day exploring the battlefields of Gettysburg because the Civil War is another one of my passions. And at the end of the day, my friend and I found a pub, and it was just like Guinnesses, like like, and at the pub all night long after spending the
All night long, all night.
night long. Yeah, dude. You know, the thing is like people don't understand how like cool history is and how to when you understand like like when you're standing on grounds where like certain things happened and you just realize just how much human history happened there and how much of an effect it has on the world that you live in now. It's just there's just quite nothing quite like it. It's a catharsis that I don't know, man. These are things that are all on my bucket list. Everything that you've done in the last several years that I get to see and live frivolously through you are things that I would love to do. The only thing that you haven't done, is you haven't gone to the beaches of Normandy.
Actually, I have done that already.
Love to go to the beaches of Normandy.
I already did that. I did that in 2019.
You did?
Yeah. So,
oh well,
because of my job, I went to D-Day 75 celebration, and so what we ended up doing was it was pretty cool. My band, my musical group, we ended up starting in the United Kingdom. We went to Plymouth and Brighton. Yeah, Plymouth and Brighton, and we ended up taking the ferry from Dover and took that over to Normandy. And then once we got there, we did all our France tour and all that. And it was really, really cool. And for us, basically what we were trying to do was follow the path of the Allies during the war from when they were getting ready for, Operation Operation Tiger. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, all the way up to the landings into there. So it was really, really cool. I enjoyed it very much. So I have been to Normandy and I saw Omaha Beach and I think it was Juneau. Went there. And what was crazy was the craters from the naval ships bombarding the beach, they're all still there. And so I was in some of them. Yeah. So I took pictures in one of those craters. I mean, it was wow. It was so surreal and seeing all the dynamo was actually the Dunkirk, the evacuation of Dunkirk. So that was a different operation. But yeah, so it was really, really nice. So I've done Normandy. I just didn't post pictures of it.
Here's a little known Darth Paradigm fun fact. My lineage, my genealogy traces back to Normandy because I am from French ancestry. My father's name before he was adopted is Leclerc, and my mother's is Marcotte, and it's traced back to Normandy. Apparently, that's where the Darth Paradigm lineage originated.
So it's not Scott Perkins; it's Scott
Perkins. Is my mother's name. My grandmother adopted my father when he was 14. He was a state child. My grandmother served in the Marines, and she was based at in a Marine base she was like an audio technician, and my grandfather was based there. He was like a supply colonel or something like that, and they had met there, and so they both served in the Marines during World War II. And I mean, it's just so like it gets kind of in your blood. You just kind of like immerse yourself into history and the lore. I would love to just simply go to the battlefields of World War I. Some of those battlefields that you go to have so much potentially active artillery shells. Like literally, when you go in there, it warns you if you're going in. And they have farmers every year that will be tending to their fields, and it'll pick up a shell and it'll be an explosion or whatnot. They said that if they removed 500 tons of artillery explosives a year from the battlefield of World War I, it would take something like 200 years to remove all of it. That's how ridiculous that war was. Just the amount of artillery that they shot.
I remember when I was stationed in Germany, there were times where they would shut down the Autobahn because they found World War II shells in the ground, and they had to clear out the area and remove the warheads and stuff out of the ground. And they wanted to make sure that everything was a safe distance in case they were detonated, which of course they didn't, but they wanted to take that precaution. Yeah, it was a lot of crazy stuff.
I mean, Europe has seen so much. I mean, between just World War I and World War II alone, just so much freaking ordnance has been dropped that it's amazing that anyone can go anywhere at all. But when you think that the Führer bunker is a parking lot.
Correct. I've been there too.
Have you been there?
Yeah, I went to Berlin and did all that. Yeah.
Yeah. I'd love to go to Berlin. I just, they actually have, they have these fortifications on the, because Berlin was sort of a fortress with these, it was surrounded by water with like bridges across the water. And then on the I believe there was like 3 fortifications where they had like 3 anti-aircraft gun emplacements on each one, and it was just sort of like this circular maze kind of formation inside the building where like you could, if it got hit, like no part of it would be destroyed because it was so like reinforced. German engineering was insane. I mean,
some of the best in the world.
One of the reasons why they lost the war, when you've got like the Soviet army like making 50,000 T-34 tanks, and then the German army made 2,000 Tiger tanks. You kind of lose no matter how good your tank is made. You're going to lose. But I believe that the Allies, and I'll make this short and I'll just get off of it, but like the Allies bombed these things, and they couldn't destroy them because they were like made out of reinforced concrete and rebar, and reinforced concrete and rebar were like air pockets, and just like they actually use some of those as apartment buildings now in Berlin. Like one of them exists and it's an apartment building. Like, you go in and it's just like a left, a right, a right, a right, a left, another right, 14 lefts, and then a right, and then you're at your door. So if you get drunk in Berlin and then you go home, you're fucked. You're like, I don't know where I am. Where's the apartment? It's just like, I've heard stories. I spend a lot of time like watching YouTube. I'm pathetic.
And I've watched a lot of documentaries. I'm
obsessed with it. Yeah.
Me too. Well, then you should really come out here. You should come out and visit me because there's a lot of cool historical places I could take you.
You know what the thing is I think I'm gonna like save up a bunch of money and I'm just gonna do that. And you're gonna be like, oh God, this guy's like such a pain in the ass. It's like
but imagine that though. We could do joint videos, not like 2 videos together, but 1 video together. We could live stream in the same room.
In the same room. I don't know if these people could handle it. They'd be like, that's too much raw dude. and
plus, I think you would be overly drunk because we would have Belgian beer and legit real Belgian beer stuff, and I don't think you'd be able to handle it.
Oh man,
you'd be drunk off your ass. I wouldn't be able to get a word in edgewise, and
I'd visit you for like a week or 2. Yeah, the thing is like if you go anywhere, if you spend less than a week, basically forget it. Yeah, it's got to be at least 2 weeks.
Yeah,
it'd be like of those 2 weeks, at least 3 of those days were like, oh man, I
know the jet lag.
No, jet lag would be a problem for me.
Oh, you say that now.
No, I know myself. I'm just like I have no sleep pattern per se. I have no circadian rhythm. I'm just like a completely random human being.
Well, I
I
learned a secret to really preventing jet lag, and that is when you're on the plane, when you travel, determine what time it's going to be when you land, and that's how you determine what kind of sleep you get when you're on the plane. So if you land and it's going to be in the morning and you take off at night, then yes, sleep on the plane so you have the energy for a full day where you are. But if you're going to land, and it's going to be the evening time, then you have to make sure you stay awake on the plane so that when you do land, you can go to sleep as soon as you arrive there so you wake up and you have a full day.
Yeah, I tried that when I went to Japan. It didn't work at all.
Oh. Well, from Europe to US, there's only a 6-hour difference. That you can do. It worked.
What happens is your lunatic friend is just like, hey, welcome to Japan. Let's go out partying for like 12 hours in a row until you get sick. And then they end up like, throwing you on a tatami mat in their living room. And then you wake up 18 hours later going like, what the fuck happened? Where am I? Because you forget that you've traveled across the planet. And you're in Tokyo, and no one speaks English.
What are you talking about, Dale? The world is flat, right? What are they called? Flat worlders, or that's like a serious thing.
What always
People out
happens
there believe that stuff.
is that the Earth has a circumference of yay big. If the Earth is flat, it's like this big, so it takes twice as long to get there, and like it's boring. Going over like a flat surface is just boring. And just by virtue of the fact that like a percentage of airplanes hasn't crashed due to boredom, or just the pilot's just like, I'm tired of this. Yeah, proves that the Earth is round. Not to mention the fact that we have satellite data and GPS and all these things that verify this.
And you look far enough off in the horizon, you can see the horizon looks like this instead of this.
Oh,
anyway,
so
we should get back to Sabers because we had 8 viewers, and then when we started talking about all this stuff, it went down to 3 viewers.
So like if you don't even need to be in the air if you're just down on like level ground. If you have a good view of the horizon, if you're not a complete dipshit, you can see that the Earth has like a natural curve. I'll drop it.
So. Back to Sabers.
Sabers.
Okay. So we already know that you would like to acquire the Kanan Jarrus offhand saber. Is there something else out there that you would like to acquire? Forget about... no, I'm not going to say forget about price. Is there something out there that you would like to get if it's in your reach?
Well... the thing is like right now I'm sort of concerned with the well-being of some of my JQ sabers because they've all been kind of dying on me. Like my what's it called? I forget what it's called, but I just like I have to send them back to JQ Sabers in England to have them fixed. That doesn't seem right, but I have to. As far as like hilts that I'm looking for, other than the Epoch Mark III, I've been thinking about buying that katana style saber from Aegis Sabers. There's just not too much that I'm looking for because I kind of have all my bases covered as far as sabers that I want. There's certain companies that I'll never order from again. Like I'm all done with the patch store. I mean, Ultimate Works is okay, but I'm not a big fan of the Asteria, and since I don't know how to program Profi, and I don't really I don't give two rat's asses about learning how to program Profi. I have no use for that company.
Okay.
LG, TXQ, I'm just like, probably like Saber Forge. You know what? Okay, here's the thing. I would definitely like to get another Corn Horn because I'm currently reading I Jedi. I got seriously, I got a Kindle from my job for Christmas, and I've been reading iJedi, and I'm not necessarily hung up on getting a Genesis Custom Sabers Corn Horn, but I would like to get another Corn Horn. I've seen a few. I saw it. There was a Starfall Sabers one on sale.
Starfall stuff is just.
It was insane.
I wish I had had the money to acquire a Starfall Saber because all of his stuff is just so beautiful.
There's an Etsy installer, something orbital, like Tierfun orbital or something like that. They had a Corn Horn. It looked literally like Corn Horn, just had assembled it out of like parts that he found in a junkyard. The thing was gorgeous. It looked totally uncomfortable in the hand, but it was a CFX NeoPixel. The thing was, it was like $650, and if I had the money, it was.
So Scott, tell me, what is your obsession with Corn Horn, and why do you feel the need to have multiple of the same saber, kind of saber?
Because there's no two Corn Horn sabers that are the same. They're interpretive. It's kind of like a scrap flex. People are into scrap flexes. I'm like, I've got a grab flex and I've got a couple, Anakins, whatever. I'm fine. But like, the whole concept of like just a saber that like, someone who was trying to become a Jedi, and he had to go and make this saber, and he used material. He just happened to live on Coruscant, and just like and he built something out of local materials. I just find that fascinating. I love the look of a saber that really looks like it was made by hand. Everything that I have sort of looks like it's a manufactured piece.
Yeah,
I like the idea.
That's why I like Starfall.
Starfall, exactly. Starfall, and that's where this Tierfun Orbital, or whatever the company's name is, they did this same kind of Starfall-esque quality where you look at it and you go like, that is totally impractical, but that's exactly what someone would make. That they were just like cobbling something together, and they happen to have a kyber crystal, and that's what they did. And that's kind of.
So you kind of said a lot of things there that I want to briefly address. Well, I want to address. I think I'll start with the Pac Store thing. So I personally have never had an issue with Pac Store. But as Commander Dale just brought up, that Ultimate Works is one of the manufacturers that Pac Store distributes or sells. And I don't have any issues with Pac Store. I don't like their website. I think the website is very clunky and not very well designed. It's not easy to navigate, but I don't have any issues with Pac Store, but I know a lot of people do, you being one of them. I've had nothing but a positive experience, and Aaron has been very good to me. But anyway, you mentioned the Asteria board and that you don't particularly care for the Asteria soundboard.
That's okay.
When I got the Boar's Dragon Slayer, at the time they didn't have accent swings in there. It was still at the beginning of its improvement. I didn't think it was anything special, and I ended up selling that saber. I liked the hilt, but I didn't like the Asteria board at the time. But then they released their Flight series, which is Asteria Light. And to this day, I still stand firm that I believe that the Asteria Light Flight series is the most affordable and best budget lightsaber. And the reason why is, you only get 6 sound fonts, but the fact that they are customizable, which you do not get with RGBX, you don't get any of that. So I think the Asteria Light and the Flight soundboards are amazing, and I still stand by that. That's the best in the market when it comes to a budget saber. Now getting to the Profi thing that you said, I feel like the people who have figured out and taken the time to know how to edit and program a Profi board, they all say that once you figure it out, it's not that bad and it's pretty good. With that being said, I don't want to put in the time to figure it out and learn how to do it. and I've saved all these tutorials in my watch later playlists and stuff. And I said, one of these days I'm gonna get in here, I'm gonna try to figure out this Profi board thing. And I don't want to be bothered. I just want to push the button and just go. Or just plug it into my computer and then boom, everything is right there. And that's the huge advantage to having a CFX is you've got the Rice editor, which kind of does all the programming code stuff for you by just clicking whatever you want in there, or you just do your little file. So I'm a huge supporter still of CFX over Profi, but we all know that Profi can do more than a CFX or any other board just because it's open source. And then the last thing that you were kind of going over is the cornhorn thing. Me personally, cornhorn is not my style, but I can see how other people do have a love for that. Just like I'm not a Scrap Flex and definitely not a Graflex fan, but I see the appeal why other people do. And this leads me to my next thing. I don't quite, and I like to have an open discussion about this. I don't understand, and please comment, people. What is the desire, the need to have multiple of the same saber? So for me, when I got my Count Mark II Dooku saber, I don't feel the need to hold on to the Mark I. And that is the only reason why, and Starkiller sabers are also a huge popular thing. I don't see the need to have an extra saber. The only reason why I went for the Mark II is because it was so much better design than the Mark I. But as soon as I got the Mark II, I'd sold the Mark I. So when some people say, I have to have this saber, I'm like, well, you already have, what's the point of having 3 Qui-Gon sabers? You know? So I like to open the floor to say, what is the desire, or why do people feel the need to have multiple of the same saber?
Just to help this conversation along, I'm gonna go grab my my Corn Horn just so people can see what I have, and then they can see what I'm talking about.
Okay. Let's address Commander Dale here. I find too many saber companies have Profi as their top-end choice. I have nothing against Profi, but it seems a lot of companies offer Profi only. Yeah, and you're right, Commander Dale. You see Profi is pretty much been marketed as being the top, the highest end. And you see it when you look at, RGB is one price, and then you go for, let's say, a Casino Pixel or regular NeoPixel, a bit more money, and then you might see Golden Harvest, that's a bit more, and then Profi is always the most expensive in most companies because they all value it as being the highest end. Me personally, I've done the Profi thing, and though it does a lot of great things, I just don't want to put in the effort and the energy to really fully maximize its potential. And because of that, I don't see the point in having it and spending that extra money when I'm not going to use all of its features. Why buy a luxury car with all this stuff when all you're doing is driving 5 minutes to McDonald's to work? You know what I'm saying? So having the Profi is not as important to me, but I understand the appeal for those who actually do utilize all of its features. Go ahead, Scott.
So this is my Corn Horn. This is from DX Sabers, and this has a Golden Harvest V3, and it's an interesting take on the concept because a lot of people agree that the Corn Horn usually has a much, kind of more ornate sort of emitter section. The handle is your typical speeder bike kind of look. The pommel is for fairly standardized, but this whole switch section is very unique in and of itself. I forget what DX Sabers calls this, but this has been my Corn Horn. Now, if you know me and you know my channel, I've always wanted a Genesis Custom Saber Speeder, which I consider sort of the other sort of side of Corn Horn, beside design aesthetic. And I just basically I like the whole concept of the corn horn saber, and I only, if anything, I would only own like one other to just get kind of the both sides of like the design aesthetic, because it's sort of like when you're determining like how something looks in a novel. Like if you're thinking about like what does how does Aragorn look in the Lord of the Rings trilogy? One person might have one view of how it looks, another person might have another view. And sort of the same thing with the corn horn lightsaber. He just kind of describes how it was assembled and built, what parts he used. So it's kind of open into interpretation based on the catharsis that you acquired when you were reading the book. So some people have like one vision, other people have another vision. This is just one that I never even thought of, which was why I bought it. Plus the price was good, and this has turned out to be one of the most phenomenal sabers I own. It's just absolutely. It's just, I have this thing loaded with every single corn horn sound font I could find. I have about 5 or 6 of them on here right now.
I know Benji from Nerf Herder Customs. He is a big corn horn fan as well.
Huh? Well,
Benji from Nerf Herder, he's big into corn horn as well, and he's installed quite a few.
His designs are, he's done some amazing work. The thing is like I could actually afford this. I bought this again off the Facebook Marketplace, and the price was quite reasonable. I think it was maybe like $300 worth every penny as far as I'm concerned. Anything that kind of like goes over $300, it just kind of gets into territory where I really can't justify the expenditure. And this is probably the other than my bad accident was I had spent on a saber in quite some time, and I have no regrets.
I'm at the point where anything over 200 is, I know that's saying a lot, but I don't want to spend that. But the crossguard that I got from TXQ, I think that was 153. And I feel like that's a lot of saber for 153.
Well,
yes, Teku, that is a Golden Harvest board.
It was a very that was a very heavy package that you got from TXQ, and I was I think that's going to be a nice, solid, good quality.
I agree. He's waving at you, Volt. Yeah, I'm looking forward to when that arrives, because that unboxing is going to be not epic or anything, but I think it's going to be really nice. I think TXQ and LGT are kind of the same cloth. They have kind of broke off in their own ways, but I would say, me personally, I like the aesthetic of the TXQs more. And now they've kind of developed their own soundboard, which is slightly different in operation from the LGT boards. And they also now using a 2-button configuration where LGT only uses the 1. If you haven't followed this guy, check out the Frugal Jedi. He has really nice videos, and his format of how he does his videos really fits into what I like to see. It's very detail oriented, and I feel like his opinions are very objective. So check him out if you can. I think he's at 500 some subscribers, but he has really good videos, and he's done some stuff on TXQ.
He's not overly verbose either. He doesn't dwell too much on like irrelevant things. Like when I first started doing videos, like I would just like go off on random tangents, and you have to learn to discipline yourselves and just get to the meat.
Yeah, he's very detailed, but he's very clear and concise and efficient in how he does his things. So cool, Volt. I think that's great. Yeah, sub to this guy. He's really nice. The Frugal Jedi. And he has a video on talking about the soundboard from TXQ. And he talks about the flaws, but most of it's positive. And I like that it's a 2-button setup. The only thing I wish the 2-button, and I'll get to do this myself once I get my TXQ Saber in, but I wish that it was more designed like an activation and an auxiliary switch, which really isn't the case. Like certain buttons do certain things, and it's also paired with gesture control. But I'll do my own version of it and give more detail on that. But yes, I think the TXQ Sabers are really nice as far as design goes. No need to apologize for writing in German. But yes, I'm doing fine. Mir geht es gut.
I accept your apology. And I'm just joking.
Oh, what?
He knows I'm a dick.
Yes, you are. Well, you can be. But he's just a big old fluffy teddy bear who's so warm and friendly and nice to everyone, aren't you?
All right, you done?
Yes, I'm done.
All right, where were we? Everything got weird.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so we didn't really get address the issue of why do people have the desire, the need to have multiple of the same saber? Like, why would someone have 3 Qui-Gons, 2 Dooku's, 4 Anakins? You know.
Well, all right. Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, as far as like, I'm trying to think of who do I have the most of. I have
Qui-Gon.
several. What? Yeah. Okay. Calm down. All right.
I whispered it.
I have.
I'm calm.
I
I'm
don't
eating
know.
gummies.
It's just kind of like, okay, let me put to you. This is what I don't understand. I have a Qui-Gold. It's made by
That's different.
and it's I believe I think the hilt came from 89 Sabers. I'm not sure, but it's pretty much as accurate as you can get. But then I can't remember the name of the company. They came out with their own. It was sort of like the ghost version of Qui-Gon's hilt. Not like one replicas, but like another one of those similar companies. It might have been not the Saber Merchant, but Saber Bay perhaps. I can't remember, but and I saw this like, I don't know, in the Exodus where people were selling all of their previous Qui-Gon hilts.
Well, you were talking and talking and talking, and you didn't see that Mojito was trying to say hello to you.
Oh, hi, Mojito. I have my eyes closed. Aw, Mickey.
The Dathomirian Sith cat.
My cat's been here the whole time. Mine
too. He's just been on the floor by my feet. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Mojito. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I just don't understand like selling one screen accurate, like fully installed NeoPixel Saber to just get another fully installed NeoPixel Saber because it's slightly more accurate. I don't know. It's just kind of like
so. I mean, I can definitely get behind that. So let's say you have one saber and you see something that's slightly more accurate and you want that instead. So with that being said, why is there a need to still hold on to the previous version? Right? Why
is there a need to buy the newer version? I mean,
I can understand buying the newer, but if you get the newer, why keep the old?
Because you're in the like, as far as the Dooku sabers, you got the Mark III, but the Mark III was more accurate than the Mark II, and you have your justifications for buying the Mark III over the Mark II because you care about the character and you want something more accurate. So that would apply definitely to like the Qui-Gon character. I guess it's just basically
yes, but when I got the 2, I got rid of the 1. So
what happened was I had bought the damn Ultimate Works Qui-Gon, Master Gone, whatever the hell they called it, whatever. And I had
Why Master Gone?
I had such a difficult time dealing with the patch story because the thing had issues and the install, it's basically, you have a bunch of monkeys going on there and just like, throwing on like a standard package, and the thing was just a piece of crap. And I ended up like sending it off to be fixed because the patch store refused to touch it, and then I had it fixed. I had it installed. Well, that was all going on. I saw like the Corvette Qui-Gon, and I was just like, oh shit. So I bought that one because I figured if this didn't work out, I'd get that. And then I ended up having like 2 like screen accurate Qui-Gon hilts in the end. And you know what? Like, the thing is like I don't have that much faith in the technology. I imagine one of them is going to crap out at some point, which always seems to happen with all these sabers. All y'all spending like $800, $900, $1,200 for your sabers out there. Eventually, one of these days, in like 10 years down the line, you're going to turn it on and nothing's going to happen. You're going to be like, fuck! And then it's going to be like, where you, like, that's why I have with the Qui-Gon, I'm keeping the 2 of them in case one of them, when one of them eventually craps out, at least I'll have another one. And then by the time that one craps out, I'm going to be like in my 60s and I'll be on my way out the door anyway, So it's kind of like...
So that is your justification or reason for having multiple of...
In that particular instance.
So it sounds like, let's say you have one hilt, and then you see another version that might be improved or maybe more accurate, so you get that one. But then you say, well, why get rid of the old one? Because now I have the second in case electronics go faulty on one of them. So that does make some kind of sense. But I want to address another thing that you just brought up, and that is you spent $800 for a hilt, and at some point, those electronics, you're going to push that button and nothing's going to happen.
Exactly.
And I think that brings us to a big thing, and that is electronics and how fragile they are. And was that fragility? That's a word. So I learned when I started installing lightsabers and I saw the price that you're paying for the parts and the equipment, and then I see how much people charge for it, and then you see the durability of them. And the reality is, it doesn't matter who's installing it. For the most part, the durability doesn't vary all that much. You're all using similar kind of wire. We're all, at this point, all using the same speaker or soundboards. And then recharge ports don't vary all that much either. So you get to a point where you're kind of using some of the same parts for a lot of things, but whether you spend $150 for it or you spend $1,000 for it, if you drop the saber, it doesn't matter how expensive it is or how good the installer is. If you drop it, something's going to happen. And that really makes me nervous. And like Mackey's here saying, all electronic devices will eventually crap out. That is a 100% true statement. There's no getting around that. So I look at it as, why do I want to spend $800 for something that is going to crap out? Especially if you drop it. That really makes you nervous when you drop something. And
when you invest in a car, or tires for your car, or like a heater for your house, you understand that each one of these things comes with a limited lifetime. Your car is going to last you maybe 10, 15 years, depending on how you treat it. Your tires will last 3 or 4 years. The more you spend on these things, the longer these things are going to last. Now you go
allegedly.
You spend $1,400 on this like amazing, like install a trophy lightsaber with a chassis and a crystal chamber. And the thing is, it's getting like more and more and more complex. This thing that you're getting is more and more and more and more complex. All that means is like the more complex it is, the more you're decreasing the life of the thing. So you're spending all this money on something that may last you, if you don't use it, 10 years. If you do use it, it'll last you like 8 years.
And sometimes even if you don't use it, it's still going to degrade, and it may not
exactly
be there for you.
It's almost like you have to use it in order.
You have to, yes.
It has a lifespan, and then in the end, you're stuck with like a hilt that doesn't do anything, with a lot of memories, and it's just. And I'm not belittling anybody for getting like their dream saber. It's just that, these things are not going to last forever, and you spend all that money for these things. It's just sort of like, wouldn't it be better to invest that?
They're very fragile. They're very fragile. I don't care what you do with it.
If one of them,
it's going to degrade, or if you drop it or hit it too hard, it's something could happen to it because they are very fragile. Even just the speaker alone, you drop that, and now you got terrible quality sound.
On my Sovereign, if I remove the speaker, you remove the pommel, and then the speaker is threaded, and there's like pins, like what you would find for your connection for your NeoPixel, and there are these little pins that go into like a sheath, and
those pins wear down over time too.
And the pins wear down. I have one pin that every time I go to change out the battery, because I don't have a recharge port, you can just kind of unthread the thing, but it's just easier to remove the whole thing, because inevitably what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to take a pair of pliers and carefully pull that one pin that's stuck, pull it out so that the spring starts working again. Then you can put it all together again. Then you have a saber with sound. And that's just like one tiny little problem. And then you've got all these little wires, then you got like a circuit board with like a million little things on it, and then you'll have like a switch. And like I've had to send in like at least a dozen Saber Forge hilts because the recharge ports always go crappy. And when the recharge port goes, that's it. The hilt's useless, and you have to.
If it doesn't have a removable battery, yeah.
And it's just kind of like, you really have to be cognizant that what you're buying is a very, very temporal thing. It's only going to last a while.
But I do want to point out, though, when a saber costs $800 or $1,000, it's not just because of electronics. There's a lot of things in there that are bringing up. Maybe it has an OLED screen. Maybe it has a rotating crystal chamber that's 14 karat gold, or it's an all metal chassis. These are all things that definitely bring up the price and the value of the lightsaber. So I'm not knocking paying that kind of money for a saber just because there's electronics.
And if you get 5 years of joy out of it, what's the price for like joy?
Yeah. And let's face it, in most cases, when you're spending that kind of money for a saber, you're not dueling or swinging that thing around. That is your, like you said, your joyful shelf queen that you're very proud to show off and showcase to other people, when they come around and things like that. Just me personally, I'm not putting that kind of money and value into a lightsaber that's going to sit on my shelf. And that's also another reason why I'm selling off a lot of my collection, because I don't feel the need to have all these sabers laying around and I'm not using them. But I think that's an interesting conversation that needed to be had about electronics and their fragility and things like that.
But you also have to consider that we're a consumer culture, and capitalism makes the world go round. Someone sees that you have a really, really nicely installed like Darth Maul hilt, and man, you love Darth Maul. All you want is to have like a Darth Maul hilt that looks exactly like what he had in the movie, and that's your goal. And if you want to spend the money on it, there's no one out there that has the right to tell you that you don't you don't have the right to spend the money. They can go to hell. They can, fuck them. If you want to
Your
spend
money, you spend it on what you want. It's just like a woman might spend all her money on shoes. I mean, you can't judge someone else for spending their money on lightsabers. Everyone has their passion. Everyone has their vice, and let them to it.
I don't judge people on what they spend. If anything, there's I do get a little bit like jealous. When I see people like there's a period, and I think it's long gone where I saw a lot of the members of the community just buying up whatever they wanted. They all of a sudden they turn around and had the best of. And it's just like, how could you afford to do that? Because I've noticed a lot of those.
None of our business.
But that has slowed down somewhat because, the economy being what it is, and reality kind of sets in after a while that,
Well, I also have a theory as to why people are buying less sabers. And I'm going to update the banner here because I have a theory. So, at one point, I feel like
has a theory.
I feel like at one point, the YouTube lightsaber community was much bigger, more active than it is now. Now, I'm not saying it's a lot less. I just know that my activity has been a lot less, and maybe this stuff just because you're not a part of it doesn't mean it's not still going on. So I still believe it's a very big thing, but I think it's slowed down a bit. And my theory is that saber technology has gotten so it's flatlined. I guess the best way I can say it. You've got LGT, who has really flooded the market, and they've almost cornered it because that's what you see pretty much everywhere. But now, smooth swing, standard. Multiple fonts, standard. All these features are now standard and a bit more affordable to some degree. We haven't really seen any leaps or changes. So in the past, it was like, oh, smooth swing came in. That was a big deal. So everyone wanted to try to get the smooth swing. I think the best analogy I can give is buying a car. So Scott, when you and I were young, we got our first car, stuff like power locks, power windows, air conditioning, those were all extras that you had to pay for. They didn't come standard on a car, let alone a CD player or any of that stuff.
Power brakes?
That's another one. And power steering, that's another one, yeah. But now you see, because the car technology has advanced so much, if you said to someone, hey, it comes with power locks, they would say, of course, well, that's you crazy. I wouldn't expect it not to. But now those are all standard features which were extras 10, 20 years ago. And I feel like now we're at a point where smooth swing, all these other multiple fonts, SD card, these are all standard features, not extras. So saber technology hasn't advanced much in the last 2 years because once 2019-20 hit, we were getting all these things normalized. And I think that has kind of brought down the excitement a bit as far as sabers go, just because everything, NeoPixel, that was like the big fancy thing. And now NeoPixel is so easy to get now, it's not special anymore.
My first car was a Chevy Citation. It had power nothing.
What year? Citation's an older car. That was a hatchback, right? 4-door hatchback?
Mine was not. Mine had a trunk. It was an 87.
Citation, yeah, that was a bigger car. Yeah, my first car was a 1985 Chevy Monte Carlo. LS.
Dude, my friend Mike, I believe his first car was a Monte Carlo. He used to call it the Gray Ghost. We were driving along one day, hanging out, and he had an electrical issue in his car, and the whole cab of the car filled up with electrical smoke, and I still smell electrical smoke. And that was probably over 20, 30 years ago.
But Mackie brings a good point. He says there's nothing much to really look forward to because it's pretty much all the same. When a new saber comes out, it's not special because there's nothing that it's really adding or bringing to the table because there's so many of them all doing the same thing.
Here's kind of like if you think about like just numbers, back when we started in the hobby, think okay, so maybe you have 100,000 people interested in lightsabers. And at that time, there was maybe like 2 million lightsabers available. And now, like, all these years removed, there's like all of a sudden, like, just due to popularity, let's say 750,000 lightsaber aficionados. And now there's probably on the order of like 50 million lightsabers available. It's just a kind of a supply and demand issue. I mean, when you go to Dark Wolf's like website, and you see the sheer volume of the different models they has available.
It's a lot.
It's like how many people are going to buy all of those models? Which ones are going to sell the most? Which ones are going to sell the least? He probably has a very good handle on his when he keeps in stock, and only they only produce like what they need to a certain degree. But it's just like, I don't know. It's mind blowing when you think that like on a daily basis, maybe you have 20 different models of saber being released, and then currently, you probably have like 175,000 different sabers available to people from various and sundry companies. It's just kind of like you get to a point where it's just like, okay, there was a guy that was on one. He was mentioned in a Star Wars novel from 10 years ago for 3 pages before he died, and they kind of described his lightsaber. Well, that guy's got a lightsaber, so the Tyrion Bolthar fan out there can get his lightsaber. So you got like all these characters that they keep releasing sabers for. It's like, well, how many fans of that saber is there? I mean, okay, so once you get past Count Dooku, Kanan Jarrus, Qui-Gon, Luke Skywalker, the Emperor, and then after you get through all the main characters, you start throwing in your like, what if Jar Jar was the and then it gets to a point where it's just like, does every character need a saber? And it's kind of like, yeah, because there's someone out there that wants that character as a saber, and all the individuals like Ravenz sabers who would be willing to make you a character saber, or like Blue Force sabers would make you a character saber. They're essentially not doing that anymore because it just became like untentative, and so like there's just too much stock out there for the market to possibly handle. At the prices that they want during a coming recession.
So right here, there's nothing much to really look forward to, and I agree with that. But then when a new saber gets released, there's a lot less pomp and circumstance attached to it now. And then it's the same options. Do you want an RGBX core? Do you want a Xenopixel core? Do you want a Profi core? Everything is just the same plug and play kind of thing. And for me, there's nothing special. There's no real customized sabers anymore. Like there's a time where you can go to Saber Trio and you can choose, I want this, and this OLED screen, blah, blah, blah. And now you're not even seeing that type of thing much anymore. And so for me, it's lightsabers just used to be this precious commodity like diamonds. But the problem is if everyone has a diamond, then it's no longer special. And I feel like lightsabers are so easily available to everyone, and there's so many, like you just said, Scott, and they all kind of offer the same thing. Well, now it's just not really special anymore. And the only reason why I got that crossguard is because it was something a bit more unique and different from what we normally see. So to answer the question that he had earlier is, where can it go from here? That is the real question. And I think until we see something like seeing a NeoPixel blade that actually extends out of the saber versus just having a tube that you put in there, I feel like that's kind of the next step. And I've seen a couple of videos on YouTube where these guys are playing around with having actual extending blades. But the problem with having that is you could go back to the old school telescoping blades, which were cheap plastic crap, or you have an overly thick, bulky hilt that doesn't look realistic or attractive. I also think maybe something else that I would like to see is play around with the Bluetooth aspect more. Maybe do something where, and I've seen guys do this, where they take their lightsaber and they connect it to an external speaker, like their sound system. But the problem is you have that latency, that delay. So when you turn it on, your saber comes on, but then it comes out the wireless speaker late. And I think that's a big issue. So I would like to see something where I can turn on the lightsaber, plug it into my big surround sound, and swing it around in my room and really hear a nice loud lightsaber sound. I had a friend say, well, why would I want to do that? Because lightsabers aren't supposed to be that loud. But at the same time, if you're shooting a video, or if you just want to have fun, or do a little choreography thing, or just whack around with your friends, having the extra volume would be really cool. So now you're hearing the lightsaber clash more than hearing the plastic whacking each other. You know what I'm saying?
I think maybe I'd like to see a little bit more of an infrastructure of like a conscientious, creation of Star Wars clubs where, like, lightsaber dueling is more ubiquitous. It's available in more communities. It's not just like Shannon and Code Echo dueling in a parking lot where people can actually go to a community center and they have lightsabers there, and you can actually go there and just get some exercise and have some fun and play around with fellow Star Wars fans and learn how to do it. More of a structured thing, because they've got some clubs here and there, but we're in my neck of the woods, there's nothing. That would give more of a practical application of owning a stun saber or what have you, or a flow saber where you can actually go and
But those flow sabers are stun sabers like $500. I was like, I'm not pre-ordering $400 or $500 for a stunt saber. I mean, I said they must be crazy. I deleted those emails and said I'm done.
But yeah, I mean that's just one side of the coin. I find that most of the Star Wars fans, they just get their character, they get their favorite saber, and they're done. So they might only own a handful of them anyway, and that just leaves several 100,000 others that all kind of do the same thing. I don't even really care that much what the electronics are that are installed in this saber that much anymore. If I see it and it's intriguing to me, if it's a stun saber, I might be as inclined to buy it. But anyway, I mean, budget is the final ruling variable of the whole project. Please don't have me centered in the camera.
Oh, you're fine. Yeah, so I would like to see. I'm just wondering what the next big advancement of saber tech would be. But right now, I feel like we've kind of flatlined on anything revolutionary, at least for a while.
I would have to agree. I mean, if anything, they could just improve upon the longevity of the electronics and the durability of the blades as far as NeoPixel goes. If they can figure out a way to make trophy more accessible to those of us who are not willing to learn a brand new skill, something along the lines of CFX, for maybe the programming is a little bit easier for doing blade effects, even if it's just like a coded system, like what Stereo uses, where you can just apply a code and like a mathematical integer.
I would say something like Electrum Sabercrafts, which I feel like has kind of fallen off the map, and because they've just really
the Diadium 3 is a dumpster fire, and they can't.
Correct. But the concept that they were trying to build there, if they could do something with Bluetooth more, with apps that allow you to really customize your saber, but have it actually work. Essentially like the Rice editor. I feel like it really does well for CFX, but if you could do that in an app where you're not having to connect it to a computer, something like that I feel like would be a next step to really revolutionize saber.
I'd like to tell a little story. My Aurora, I had my Aurora kind of set up just the way I wanted to in the previous firmware update. I updated it to the current firmware, the vaunted upgrade that everyone had been waiting for from Electrum Sabercrafts for months and months and months and months, and they kept giving updates and talking about it, and it just gets to be a bit much because I finally updated the saber and it didn't work at all, and I couldn't reverse. I couldn't put an older version of an older firmware update on it and get it to work the way it was working before, which was perfect. I had to go and buy a 16 gigabyte SD card to throw onto that thing just to get the existing firmware to function, sorta, kinda. And it's really, really disappointing. And I've gotten to the point where you have no love for the Diadium 3. And I thought it was like semi-functional to a certain point. Not really, really worth being considered as a serious soundboard by any stretch of the imagination, but it was functional. But this last update was so fundamentally disappointing. And it just it revealed to me the fact that Electrum Sabercrafts needs to either abandon the whole Diadium 3 format and just kind of maintain for what customers already have that particular soundboard. They really need to switch to something else. They need to either start over with another soundboard, which I know would be incredibly difficult considering how hard it is to get hold of electronics components from China. Because
I agree. I think the way forward with that, Scott, is you can't just scrap Diadium 3. They have to phase it out. So I think they would have to almost go back to the drawing board, make a new board, and then when you start selling the sabers, offer this new board. And then as people start buying that, then stop offering the Diadium 3 on the new sabers, and then boom, you phase out the old that doesn't work, and now you've got this new product that does work.
But then again, how do they make a product that does work when they've had such a... I mean, right now, the way the Diadium 3 works, and they put so much energy and time into it, it's kind of indicative of how most things work now, be it small business or government or whatever, what have you. It's just they invested so much in it, and they just don't want to give it up.
Well, it was a great idea. It was a great idea, but I think a smart way forward for them would be to, since they couldn't revolutionize it, it was a revolutionary idea that just didn't really execute the way that they had planned. And especially since the one partner guy left, and I think that's another reason why I just kind of went to the wayside, because the guy that was kind of the brainchild behind it isn't really with them anymore. So they should basically just default it back to what all the other soundboards do, which is not do the whole app and make adjustments live, through time. They should just make it a standard board set and just drop the whole app idea, because it just crashes all the time. It's not reliable, and it's not enough. And offering one sound font, that's not enough. They should just change that and do
garbage.
It's garbage, and you spend a lot of money for it.
Insulting.
It is, especially when the one font you get, you can't tweak it, get it to work right the way you want on the board.
the thing is like, you know what they would end up doing? They would end up doing what every other company has done. They're gonna just start throwing in like LGT cores and like, I'm so tired of that lack of creativity.
Yeah.
Where that's the solution. Like, you've got like Saber Forge has gone that route, and Kyber Saber, whatever the fuck their name is, and the only company that has not bothered is Ultra Sabers.
Yeah.
And
but Ultra Sabers isn't offering anything that's even remotely close.
Like every company is here, and Ultra Sabers is like way the hell down here, like on the great scheme of things, and no one like even pays any attention to them anymore. But every single company just goes, like, I'm just gonna go to China and like, and have them import like a bunch of crap, and it's just like, that's not a solution for ingenuity. The thing is that at this point they can't even come out with a Diadium 4 because no one will buy that. They could rename it anything. If they come up with anything, their reputation.
If they do anything else that's an improvement, they should not even use a Diadium name. Call it something else, rebrand it, and go that way.
You know what worked? You know what worked for them? Diadium 2. I have my remnant with Diadium 2, other than the fact that it's a super old saber, and the power, the battery needs to be replaced. You know what? That still works, and it works really fucking well. I've never had a problem with Diadium 2 on that thing.
It's like saying, Nano Biscotti V4 works great, but then what comes out after that, maybe First Harvest or something, but we still say that Nano Biscotti MBB4 still works astoundingly well as a board, even though it's not as advanced as what's out there today.
And the operative word is simplicity.
Yeah.
If you go the simple route,
keep it simple.
Produce a product that does exactly what was promised, and you field test it, and then it has no issues. Nano Biscotti V3, Nano Biscotti V4, neither of those have, even like the Pico Crumble. They all do exactly what they're designed and programmed to do. Mm-hmm. CFX even to a degree. I've never had a CFX fail me.
Well, I have. But that was when they were first coming out and they had bad accelerometers or whatever, motion sensor cap or whatever. But once they fixed that issue, not an issue, not a problem. And that's why I put Plector Labs down here, because Plector Labs, they have a lot of different soundboards, and honestly, all of them are of good quality. They all offer or do something different, CFX being the most advanced, but all of the Plector Labs technology has been really good. And honestly, to this day, I still stand by Nano Biscotti V4. That is a really good board. And even though it doesn't have smooth swing, you don't miss it because it's so responsive and it feels so good to swing those sabers.
Yeah.
I've never used the Pico Crumble, and I wanted to get one, but then Saber Trio either was selling out everything, and then after that they just stopped offering it. But I've heard good things about Pico Crumble, and I know you have a few, and you stand by it being a good board.
I have a lot of them. I have a lot of Saber Trio that use the Pico Crumble. It's just light side, dark side. It has clashes, ignition, retraction, and swings, and it's hard to like mess with something that simple, you know. It's responsive, it's dialed in, it works. Yeah. I mean, the only thing that comes close that anybody has produced lately is the V3. I bought a bought an LGT V3 core from Fire Sabers that had issues, and I kind of got to an impasse trying to get them to replace it. And I just kind of like stopped pursuing it because they when you're messaging back and forth and you're trying to tell someone that there's something wrong with your core, and they want to have like video evidence, and then they want to have like more video evidence, and they want to know if it's doing this, and then they suggest something to you, and when you're someone who's been like buying sabers for as long as I have, when there's something wrong. And I'm really, really tired of playing around when it's just a simple matter of me sending this thing back to you, send it back to
Correct.
you.
And that's the big thing. If you know it's an issue, just send it back. Just take it and send me another one. I'm not trying to cheat you. Just take back this one and exchange it for another.
But they honestly, like every company just insists on fucking around with you, and just like, they just don't want to like, are you really that strapped for cash that you can't just like swap this thing out? I shouldn't even have to explain myself. I should have to just, I call you once, I say there's an issue, you go, oh, okay, sorry about that, we'll send you a new one.
Well, you have to remember, I mean, these are resellers. They're ordinary people just like you and me, and they don't have a lot of capital to really work with. So if they could avoid some of these issues, because once they get it, they're not doing anything with it other than sending it back to the manufacturer. So,
but still, as a business owner,
correct.
You just have to like, realize that like, wow, this person's bought like 4 or 5 cores for me and a couple of hilts and some blades, and then like when they have an issue with one thing, and then you're gonna give them a bunch of attitude, which is pretty much the issue I had with the patch store. Was they always had kind of an issue, kind of acquiescing and providing like customer services. Like I don't really want to play around. I just want to return the product and get something functioning back. Why
and not wait 2 months to do it?
Yeah, if I'm already having to pay X amount of dollars to send it to you.
Yeah.
And I just, but then
that's why Saber Trio is so good with that sort of thing, and they reimburse you. I mean, Saber Trio is really good at that.
Yeah, Saber Trio really took care of Shannon from Forged, that's for sure. Above and beyond Call of Duty.
Yeah. Now, I want to get back to Plector Labs because there's one thing I thought about that I think is interesting to talk about, and that is CFX came out in what, 2018, 2019? I think 2018, maybe even 17.
That's about right.
I think it was 2018. That's when they came out, if not 18, 19. So we're going on 3 years now, and CFX is still going pretty strong. Now, CFX, which means Crystal Focus 10, which means we had 9 other versions before that. Now, what we know of, was it Irv? I forgot his name, but the guy who runs Plector Labs, who does the boards, he's been kind of, it looks like he's kind of taken a step back, and he's not really as passionate about doing more tech. I'm wondering, just as a thought, do you think Crystal Focus 10 is the final board, or do you think there might be plans for a Crystal Focus 11?
I think if they do anything, they probably won't. It won't be a numerical thing. It'll be like a completely new. Kind of like how Macintosh names their operating systems. They'll call it the Plector Labs Leopard or something like that. But I kind of feel like the format of the CFX seems kind of, it has to feel like Xbox 10. Everything. Once you get to 10, you kind of rest on that, and you kind of want to milk that for for as long as you can, because it's
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the number. I could care less what the name
but
of
there's
it
a
is.
certain
But
psychology.
is there going to be another board? That's what I'm saying. Is there going to be another advanced board after what we're seeing now?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting question. And honestly, my instinct, my guess is I don't think Irv is going to do another board. I think he's tweaking this and whatnot. We got the gesture control and all this stuff, but I don't see him designing and releasing a new board.
How much money have they invested into the CFX?
I don't know, but I'm assuming a lot.
To start anew with a completely new format, how much would that cost? And then you're competing against whatever LGT is coming out with that week, or even like,
and even then, they're just gonna copy whatever. That's what they do.
I don't know.
Xenopix, all that stuff is modeled off of Profi, so whatever new board comes out, they're eventually gonna say, hey, let's either sell that new board or make our own that copies that new board.
And what do you call it? Upgraded? See if they decide to upgrade CFX so that it has a little bit more blade effect capacity. Timing. You can time it with the sound on that you have installed that you're currently using. It applies to more of the propane style effects. What would they call it? CFX X, CFX 2. They're not going to call it CF. We call it X, but it'll be like XI.
Yeah,
that's just not going to look good.
I think CFX just happened to work out well, but before that, it was just called CF9. It was Crystal Focus 9 before they got to X.
Yeah. They'd have to remarket everything, and that would be quite an investment.
And he didn't use Roman numerals until he got to 10. Rather than do the number 10, he said X versus 9, which was just the number 9.
Plus, you're locked into supporting CFX for the next probably like 5-6 years anyway. So you're supporting the CFX and whatever the new system is. At what point do you start losing money, considering how the market and the economy is going, and the ability to buy like processors and chips from China, because they can't get over COVID. I mean, we're having our issues in the United States again.
Yeah.
But China, they're anticipating, and I don't mean to belittle the plight of the Chinese people. I'm all the sympathy to them, but these people, they're looking at possibly like 1 million people dying in China from COVID, and it's just sort of like, and when you have one factory that produces one style of chip and another factory that produces another style of chip, they don't have that system in place where they've got multiple places producing different versions of the same thing.
That's why China wants to take Taiwan.
Yeah.
And that's why the United States said, hey, we're going to start building our own microchips in the U.S. just in case we have an issue over there.
Exactly. So, suppose you can't buy your chips from China anymore because they're just simply they've been taken out of market viability. So you have to start buying your chips from the United States, which is great. I mean, power to the United States. I mean, if it would help our economy, but at the same time, the same chip's going to cost on the order 6 times what it costs, plus inflation.
At least we'll have access to it without being hijacked or held hostage by another country.
So here you go. Now that $400 saber that you wanted, where would you get the electronics from? The United States? You're going to get the whole thing from the United States? That whole soundboard's going to come from the United States? No, half that shit's still going to come from China.
Well, now, but we're getting to a point where eventually won't have to do that.
It's just going to get so expensive and so unviable at some point that unless some other company comes along, a different player that we haven't seen before, produces something and through different means, and really, really, really shakes up the market, I think it's going to be rough going. Who knows who they might be? They may be right around the corner. I don't know.
I don't know either. But I tell you what I would like to see happen with the CFX stuff is more expansion of the Rice editor, and maybe that gets made into a type of mobile app, and then we can start customizing our CFX boards from our phones, or just having more options when we plug it into the computer. So we can basically get to a point where you can do all the same features of a Profi without having to worry about programming in code. You can just click the button in the menu of the editor. I think that is something that will be a really nice step in addition to SaberTech.
Yeah. Without having to have like connectivity issues.
Yeah, because some people just don't want to be bothered. I know I don't.
I mean, yeah, Profi is cool, but like I'm perfectly happy with what a CFX does, and like I can go to the Crystal Focus website and I can download a profile for a blade effect that's every bit as cool as anything that a Profi board can do. Throw that on my soundboard and select it, and I've got some blade effects that are really, really freaking cool.
I like the format of the sound fonts too. It's more clear, makes more sense than when I look at Profi format sound fonts.
Yeah, I wanted to mention how I had mentioned BK Saber Sound's Night Shadow sound font.
Yeah.
Sound font. I think that I'm gonna grab a saber that has that equipped on it and give you a quick demo. Okay.
Oh, now?
Yeah, now. Bear with me. I'll be back.
Absolutely, Dale. I agree with you 100%. I think while we're waiting for Scott to come back with a saber, let's hike up the music, shall we?
My Dissident, and it has a Golden Harvest V3. So this is the Golden Harvest V3 version, and I'm probably gonna have to adjust the volume, so bear with me.
Adjusted.
Is there it at all? Sound okay?
I don't hear the hum, no, but I hear you swing it.
Now, the thing is, it has a very much, it's kind of a hybrid between what I call a Kylo Ren and kind of Darth Maul with hints of the Inquisitor at the end for the accent swings. Let me try my CFX saber. Maybe that'll sound a little bit better. And then I'll drop it.
So for those that didn't catch, Scott is doing a demonstration of a sound font from BK Saber Sounds called Night Shadow, I believe.
See if the Vectra is a little cleaner.
Okay, I hear that much better, yeah.
Yeah, the Golden Harvest is a little bit more grady.
Now you die. Missed you. Now you die.
Anyway, I just wanted to showcase this because to me, this is another one of the BK Saber Sounds hits. And as far as my preference for Dark Side sound font, I've really been quite fond of that one. And I actually bought, is it Kasith who did Ascension?
Yes, that was Casey.
I bought Ascension so I could have the CFX version because the Pro V version of Ascension has always left me kind of cold, but it sounds great on CFX. And so I'm very fond of that sound font. I'm glad that I purchased that one. I bought that one because he was having one of his holiday sales, which holiday sales are great for sound fonts. I mean, at the very least, you know, we've been going on and on and on about lightsabers, but you know, if you get a lightsaber with a decent enough soundboard, if you want to give it new life, you know, just buying a sound font for like $5 or $10 or $20 for a package can give that saber new life and just, you know, really draw out its potential. And you know me, I'm like a sound font guy. You're not as much of a sound font guy as I am, but you know, it depends on what I'm, you know, buying. I mean, conversely, you and I have kind of the same taste for sound fonts.
Mm-hmm.
We like them to be in the sound font realm. I don't want like a sound font that sounds like. I
like them to stay in the Star Wars universe. I want it to be like it's something I would hear in a movie that an actual character would wield.
Like I don't want it to sound like a propeller on a Tesla, you know, going through like a, you know, waterfall. It's just weird to me.
But I want to address some of these Golden Harvest questions here. So Teku mentioned that he loves Golden Harvest, which I think we all do. It's a really good soundboard, and it's gotten a lot of popularity in the last 2 years. He said, have we tested the beta configurator? Now, I'm not familiar with this. Do you know what he's referring to?
No.
Because I honestly, in the last year, I haven't really kept up with a lot of the tech and improvements, what's going on. So that's something that I'm going to have to look into and try to get back to this later, maybe in the next stream that we do or in another video that I might shoot.
I would have to say, now that I think about it, if any soundboard could use a configurator, I think Golden Harvest would be the one, because I mean they have all those onboard menus and they control so many different things that you can do with a soundboard. It's just so creative, especially where NeoPixel is concerned. Like even that TXQ Anakin soundboard that I the Golden Harvest I have on that, it does so much, and it's really hard to keep in your head all the different little gestures and all the things that do this and that, and navigating the menus. It can be a bit much. So if they had a decent configurator, especially one that works with like Bluetooth, where you can like customize everything exactly the way you want it, and then like have like a test feature, like you fiddle with the settings. And a lot of these soundboards, they'll have a test feature, and you hit test and nothing happens, and it's just kind of like, why do you have that if it doesn't work? You know, if they could make it actually work, that would be great. I think that would really benefit Golden Harvest a lot, you know.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think when it comes to programming Golden Harvest, yeah, it's pretty cut and dry. Like Scott just said, there's a lot of The onboard menus are generally pretty good. And if you put your card into the computer or whatnot, I mean, it's just as easy or easier than CFX. So not a concern there. And I know CFX does have a configurator, which theirs is really good. And I enjoy using it very much too.
It's funny. I've got that Anakin saber set up, and not only that, I've got for instance my here. Hold on one second.
Sound menu.
Let's see. Is it this one? I think Son of Corellia. I've got this weird blade effect where it kind of like it's pulsing rapidly between blue and purple, and it just does all this stuff. And then you got that cooldown thing that happens here, and there's a lot of different things that I've programmed it for that I honestly admit I don't know what I did. It just happened to after filling with it ended up being cool. But there's really no limit to what you can do for that. I mean, it has such a far range, more than what CFX can do on the fly.
On the fly, yes.
Yeah.
Well, on the fly. But here's the thing, though. CFX can do it too. You just have to put it in the profiles.
Yeah.
And a lot of and CFX doesn't have pre-programmed blade styles that you can just select through. You have to make them yourself, and then you can jump between those. When it says choose, blade effect or whatever, yeah, you can do that. You just have to make sure that they're already set in there. If you don't have them set, then you got nothing. But Golden Harvest has a lot already set, which is nice.
If you go to the Crystal Focus website, though, they have, and am I calling it the wrong thing? I might be calling it the wrong thing. Hold on, let me double check here.
Are you talking about that that YouTube channel guy, the Crystal Focus X.net or whatever? He has a site, but then there's the Plector Labs thing, which doesn't have all that stuff.
Yeah, it's crystalfocus.net, and the way that works is there's a library, and you go through the library, and the library has all these different effects along with demos for the different effects. And if you have a specific character that you're looking for, say you want to like a Ahsoka Tano, you would look up Ahsoka Tano and it'd take you to what they have. So you click on the demo and you look at the demo. Okay, I like that. And you click back from the demo. You can actually click on where it actually takes the parameters and saves it in like a text format that you can just copy and paste right onto your configuration file. And then you immediately have the effects without having to really do a whole lot of work. It's the parameters at the bottom. If you click on the parameters for a specific one, it'll give you the parameters for the colors, and it'll give you the parameters for the blade profile. And you can just hit the thing at the bottom. It just copies it to your desk, to your whatever you call it. Copies it to your
clipboard.
What's that?
Clipboard. And then you just copy and paste it right onto your configuration file. It's absolutely brilliant. So you can if you want the ultimate Vader blade effect, or the ultimate friggin' whatever character you want. It's a really wonderful utility, and it kind of gives you a certain degree of functionality, very much like what you would encounter with a Profi board, only you're not sitting there typing in code and having to format the board and
do all the stuff that's required. It's just like a copy paste, save it, and then put the micro SD card back into the thing, and then you're good to go. I mean, I have several of my CFX sabers are just like so customized that a lot of the
I hate pulling the SD card out, plugging it in, make sure it's work, testing it, doesn't work exactly the way you want it, take it back out, put it back in your computer. It's all annoying. And the Rice configurator is pretty good, but it's also a bit glitchy or buggy and can crash at times. So you can't always get what you want out of that too.
That's why I just
kind of may not always write perfectly to the SD card too when you do it from the configurator.
That's the way I would go with a crystal focused net, like, because none of that stuff has ever failed me. As long as, like, it's the same thing when you're installing sound fonts, and as long as you trust what you're putting onto the card, whoever it comes from, and you know that you're not gonna have to deal with a whole bunch of bullshit. Unfortunately, like a lot of times, like with other soundboards, you're dealing with a bunch of bullshit. I find CFX to be one of the ones where, like, once I throw whatever I need to go on to there, the only thing that like might happen is, like, the sound file that I purchased from someone may have something misnamed, and I have to go in there and fix it. BK Saber Sounds has had that happen a few times. A few, like Jay DeLorean, where you have to like rename.
Jay DeLorean, he does some pretty good stuff at times, but it's frustrating because sometimes his files and stuff are just not.
It's like you just can't put things to market before you know it works. And
yeah,
that's where I come in with, like, BK Saber Sounds. He and I kind of collaborated for a while, and
he's gotten a lot better with this stuff now too.
Like, I think a lot. I'm not getting too my own horn, but I think a lot of our interactions kind of help him to realize that, oh man, there's certain things that aren't working in it. And I don't want to, like, I really like the guy, and I think he does amazing work. I don't want to see
he does
have to deal with, like, he sold 100 copies of the sound font, and he has to deal with 100 different pissed off customers that don't know why their shit's not working. And it's just like, I want to help the guy out because he's cool. That's why he's treated me well, and I consider him a friend,
So I wanted to bring up one topic, and this might be the last one, and I have to wrap it up.
I'm getting a little sleepy.
Yeah, I could tell. And that is blade effects. And specifically, you're seeing a lot of different blade styles and blade effects that, to me, don't represent a lightsaber. Like stuff like you push the button and the light starts in the center of the blade.
Yeah.
And then starts working its way down and up, or it's stacking on like blocks. Like, anytime you see a saber ignited, you're not seeing, this is not, to me, a lightsaber blade. So a lot of the blade effects, though it's very cool to see what you can do with the Neil picture and all that stuff, but at the same time, to me, it's not a lightsaber. What do you think?
To me, this is about as much as I would expect from an ignition.
Yes.
Like a little bit of a color change, or like a heat up sort of effect. And as far as retraction goes, maybe you have like some this I like. This is why I've stuck with this for my Kanan Jarrus. Like the whole Cylon thing, or like you just mentioned the stacking. I was like, how does light stack?
Yeah.
I don't understand. You're making a sound font that's supposed to emulate Tron. But where's that in the Star Wars universe? I don't remember like where Tron.
Not to mention, it's supposed to be a blade that is a weapon that is swung, and you have a hilt. So if I hold the hilt, how is it possible that the blade starts out here and then comes down into the hilt? That doesn't make any sense. Though it looks cool when you're looking at it on a plastic tube, but the reality is the power is coming from down here and extending outward. So when I see all this crazy stuff, or when the blade retracts out of the hilt and ends at the tip when you're turning it off, to me, again, that doesn't make any sense. So how are you doing all these things, or all these extra flashes and flickers and stuff? And it's like, it's still supposed to be a blade and a weapon, and how is that possible when you get all this crazy stuff going on and you're supposed to be swinging it and turning it on and turning it off? To me, everything starts and ends from the hilt, not out in space.
Now I can understand external influences on the blade, like I like the the blaster deflect like this.
Correct, because the blade is already on.
Yes.
And it's reacting to something that's coming to the blade.
And this is two blades hitting each other, and a lot of power is making connections. And it's spreading down the blade. These are things that make sense. When you have I don't know, it's just sort of like the flame effect works for me.
Yeah, the flame does look good. It makes sense and it looks cool.
When you're outside, weather effects like the blade, the rain hitting the blade.
That makes sense too.
This
is all things that it's the blade reacting to external forces.
That's all.
But when you power on and off and does this weird stuff, that doesn't make sense to me.
I can even see patches of the blade kind of canceling out and then filling in. If you get a strike, Vader comes in, you're really hard, and you're just a Padawan that hits your blade. Just before you die, maybe the blade will cancel out and then fill in, and then he'll do something and take you out, or interesting effects that kind of sort of fit within the framework of canon. But there's a lot of things that, like a rainbow blade, candy cane.
Christmas tree. So the difference is there is a cool lightsaber blade, and there is showing off the ability of the technology that you have. And a lot of the blade effects are just really showing off what your soundboard can do. That's cool and great. But for me, it's not a lightsaber.
Yeah. Do you I actually don't mind a sound font where you ignite the blade and it kind of you can hear the saber. It's getting to it,
struggling to mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then eventually it'll finally charge up and it'll ignite, and things to that effect, or
proto saber or whatever. Yeah, I mean that makes some kind of sense, as long as it doesn't get too crazy.
Yeah,
but when it's when you see it kind of flaming out, and then it comes out, that makes sense, because it's all stemming from the power source, which is within the blade itself, or the hilt itself.
Yeah.
So I guess I consider myself a traditionalist, so I don't like sound fonts that don't sound like a lightsaber, and I'm not a big fan of blade effects that don't make sense to the blade of a saber. I'm not saying they're bad. I just don't like them as far as, this is my lightsaber can do this. Now, as far as demonstrating something cool, absolutely. I mean, some of these effects are really cool, but it's just not my, just not my bag. When it comes to, hey, this is my lightsaber and I'm getting ready to pull it out and swing it, and this is part of my cosplay or whatever.
I have a few sound fonts that I've acquired that were free, that are based on themes that I enjoy. I have one that's Army of Darkness. I have a one from I can't remember the Netflix show. I can't remember what it's called, but a couple Halloween themed sound fonts, but then again, I didn't pay for any of these things. They were just sort of made available on like certain YouTube channels, and they're
Yeah, I'm all for other sound fonts that aren't necessarily Star Wars lightsaber. I mean, by all means, I think
I don't
think
want
that's
to.
cool.
I'm not gonna. I don't really feel like paying for there's been a few sound fonts that circulated where people thought, oh, this is hilarious, and I look into it, I go like, wow, that makes me want to claw my eyes out with
I mean, and there are some. I mean, I think there is a place and a value for fonts that are fun. So, for instance, BK, one of my favorites.
Sound bank selection.
I think that one. Wait, no, not that one.
Sound bank selection. Audio player SD card. Audio player.
The party foul. Fun stuff. Party foul. So I think there is a place for fun fonts that aren't necessarily,
otherwise, what do you guys show off at parties?
Exactly. Exactly.
When you're all hammered, it's just like, it's like, yeah, okay, that's great.
Sound bank selection.
So there's definitely a place for fun fonts. A bog of eternal stench. With a brown blade, yeah. And my cat's just sitting here staring at me. Yes, I know, Mojito. Yeah, we're almost done.
Mickey's still out. He's still right there, out like a light.
Hey, Mickey.
The whole time. Has everybody met Mickey yet? Anybody out there still?
Well, I think anyone here that's on the live stream have probably seen some of your videos and shorts of Mickey. So Mickey is his black cat.
My floofy black cat, I like to call him.
The floofy. He always adds the floofy, at the beginning.
Man, he is so hardcore sleepy, but he's actually like since we got him, he's grown a bit. No one believes me, but he when I first got him, he was kind of on the skinny side, and of course he went through the 2 or 3 weeks of illness. He had the upper respiratory infection, and he's just been like kind of figuring out who he is and growing. He's quite crazy. That cat's an absolute nut, trying to kill himself all the time. Yeah. But I noticed that now when I pet him, there's more to pet. He's like a nice healthy
nice
weight. You don't when you pet a cat and you feel spine.
Yeah, it's very frail and yeah, you don't want that.
When we first got him, it was like that. Now that he's comfortable and put on like a good amount of weight. He's so much fun to pet, and he's such a loving animal. I mean, it's just like I've had a lot of luck with cats, finding cats with good personalities and
Well, you don't find them; they find you.
this Mickey was actually found for us by the woman at the shelter. She was just we've got the perfect cat for you, and she wasn't screwing around. She knew her stuff. Because this cat, like since day one, it's been challenging. It's been a little bit scary at times. Like when we were having health scares with him, we thought we were going to lose him at a couple points. But he's just like this is his house. He just struts around it like John Travolta, and exactly. Staying alive.
That's right.
Staying alive. Anyway. Cats. I know that some of you out there don't dig on cats, but let me tell you something. They're a lot of fun. They're just as fun as dogs in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta
give them a chance. There's a lot of asshole kitties out there, but when you connect with one and you have the patience and they like you, they have really good personalities.
Had like probably close to a dozen cats in my day, and I've never had one asshole cat. If you take care of them and if you're a decent person, I find that most cats will come around and end up being pretty good cats. I'm a firm believer that if you have an asshole cat, then that's sort of a reflection on you. Same thing with dogs. If you have a dog and your dog's a piece of shit, there's a reason why your dog's a piece of shit. Have you ever thought that maybe you're a dick?
All right. Well, on that,
now we're into dogs and cats. That's the wrap up.
Yeah, but this is first live stream of 2023. Even though we walked into this impromptu and really had no topics planned, I think we made a fairly good discussion of a lot of things through this and had a pretty consistent showing. So I'm really thankful for everyone that tuned in to listen to us banter and drink and talk about sabers. And I'm committing that I will start producing more content again. I apologize for the last 7 months of not having anything, but I'm going to try to get back on track here. And I've got a crossguard saber coming, and then we're going to do a live stream after that about crossguards with Darth Paradigm. And maybe we can even get Shannon on this because he has a crossguard as well, and we'll see. But we'll have a discussion about crossguard sabers alone, and then I've got some reviews and everything else coming.
Shannon has a crossguard?
Yeah, he said he has a crossguard.
Does he?
Yeah.
Why am I not remembering that? What is it? Shannon, real quick, what do you have? Because I don't remember. I don't know. Scotty don't know. Tick.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you did.
Oh, yeah, that's what I have. I have one of those as well, and I have a
okay,
ultra saber too. But anywho,
yeah. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in, and check both our channels. We're going to have another live stream coming out probably in the next week or so with crossguards, and I'm going to start dishing out some content, hopefully more regularly here each week. So, thank you very much for watching, and may the force be with you.
Have a good week, everybody. I love you.
Ciao.